I'd like to call to order the council meeting on May the 12th, 2026. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Hi. Okay. My name is Coralie Widman from the Sierra Madre Elementary School. First, I would like to say thank you to everybody who came here today. Being the mayor for the day is so exciting, and I'm so happy to be here. A big thank you to my mom and dad who helped me to get here, my friends and family who are here to support me, and to the mayor who is kind enough to host me today. About a year ago, my mom surprised me with this opportunity, and I was so thrilled. I was like, when? But after finding out that I was going to have to wait until the end of my 4th grade school year, I never thought I would be able to wait. Now that the day is finally here, it feels like it's only been 1 week. Being the mayor for the day isn't just super exciting, but is also an opportunity for me to represent my school, my peers, and my thoughts. I've always dreamed of being a leader, hopefully one day the mayor, so being the mayor of the day is my first real step in my leadership journey. Being here in front of you shows me the importance of community and listening to others, which I think are the most important parts of leadership. Thank you all so much for being here to support me, and if it's okay with you all, I would like to share one of my favorite quotes that helps me feel brave when I'm taking on challenges. By Nelson Mandela, "It always seems impossible until it's done." It was so nice getting to be up here with all of you, and I hope you all have a great rest of your evening. Thank you.
Mayor Cora, will you please join me at the podium? Okay. I want to thank you for such an amazing experience today. You led our city through so much. You guided us through every department. You made a decision. We enacted a spirit of a new law in Sierra Madre that we will not have any traffic lights in Sierra Madre from now going forth. And it is signed in spirit of the law with the Public Works Department. So thank you so much for doing that. I think we all love that. All right. Coralie Widman, Mayor for the Day. Whereas the City of Sierra Madre values opportunities that encourage community involvement, civil engagement, and support for local schools. And Coralie Widman earned the special honor of serving as Mayor for the Day through the Sierra Madre Elementary School auction fundraiser, helping to support educational programs and opportunities for students. And Coralie enthusiastically embraced the role of Mayor for the Day, demonstrating curiosity, community spirit, and an interest in local government and public service. And the City of Sierra Madre is pleased to recognize Coralie for her participation in this meaningful and memorable experience and for contributing to the success of the Sierra Madre Elementary School. Now, therefore, may it be resolved that the Mayor, the City Council of the City of Sierra Madre do hereby recognize and thank Coralie Widman for serving as Mayor of the Day and commend her for enthusiasm, community support, and civic spirit. This is for you. Can we take a picture with all of our council and our whole diocese? Come on up. We need city manager, city attorney. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And we will excuse you for this time, and we appreciate all you've done for the city of Sierra Madre. Thank you for joining us. Come back anytime. And remember, you have some letters to write. She's gonna write some letters for some of the proposals that we want in Sierra Madre. So thank you very much. Go get your sign. Oh, yes, and we'll adjust this for you too. We'll adjust that. But for now, that's yours tonight. Yay! Thank you. Have a great evening. Okay. Woo. Thank you, everybody. That was a fun experience, and we did a lot of hard work today, this afternoon, so we want to thank Coralie very much for joining us. Thank you, Mayor. All right. Madam Clerk, can we please have roll call?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Mayor Christine Lowe,
Present?
Mayor Pro Tem Jean Goss.
Here.
Councilmember Edward Garcia, are you there?
I'm here. I'm here remotely. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Kelly Krebs
Here.
and Councilmember Robert Parkhurst.
Here.
Madam Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. All right. Do we have any supplemental information from the city clerk regarding agenda items?
Yes, ma'am. On the agenda this evening were originally two additional presentations for Older American of the Year and also Sierra Madre Older American of the Year proclamation for Dane Lenton. Unfortunately, Mr. Lenton is not able to attend tonight's meeting, and so both these presentations will be rescheduled to a future meeting.
All right. We'll look forward to that hopefully at the end of May. We'll plan on that coming back. Reports from mayor and city council. Who would like to start tonight?
Madam Mayor,
Please.
on April 29th, there was a meeting of the Transportation Subcommittee. And at that committee, they reviewed and gave feedback on the Uber transportation plan, and they were very excited about it. Maybe Uber excited? I don't know. And then right after the Transportation Subcommittee, there was a Natural Resources Commission, and they announced that they had rescheduled the planting in Bailey Canyon on April 25th because they didn't have time to remove the weeds or put in watering of the plants. So they didn't want to put in plants and not have them survive, which was, I think, was a wise choice. And then SMEAC went ahead, though, with some of the weeding activities they did in that area. And then the commission also started reviewing and editing the tree ordinance. On May 2nd, I was invited to the Playhouse for a Spanish classical and flamenco dance. It's a really good performance. Lots of families there. It was really enjoyable. And later that day, I went to the art fair. I was kind of lucky. I got it on the day it didn't rain. Lots of great booths there. And I particularly liked having the emerging artists section. So kudos to the Friends of the Library for putting that together. May 6th was the honors dinner. It was just a fabulous evening. It was great to have it at the Ascension Church. Kudos to the Chamber for everything they did to put it together. And congratulations to all of the winners. And then finally, we had a riveting planning commission on May 7th, where we discussed the commission discussed the objective design standards. And what's going to happen is that those have to come before council before the end of June as a part of the COG process that we're a part of. So the ordinance will come to us first, and then the actual standards will be incorporated by reference and follow thereafter. And the ordinance has, the design standards have 9 sections, everything from site planning and access to frontages, open space, entries, and loading areas, trash, and utilities. And that is my report.
Thank you so much. Next report.
Sure. So on the, what day was that? On the 29th, the day after our last meeting, I attended the Chamber of Commerce Board meeting, at which they did kind of their debrief from the very successful Wisteria Festival, and also talked a lot about the plans in effect for the honors dinner that was upcoming. So, and then I'll also talked a little bit about recruiting new board members. So that was a great meeting. And then I did attend the actual honors dinner after having heard about all the planning. And it was a great evening, as Councilmember Parkhurst mentioned. I really enjoyed the different format. Kudos to the mayor for essentially being the MC. Nice work. I will also say that, strangely enough, the story that ran in the Mountains Views News omitted the fact that its proprietress, Susan Henderson, was named with the Lifetime Achievement Award at the honors dinner. I thought it was a very interesting omission. Maybe a little bit she felt conflicted. I don't know, but definitely, maybe they're going to run a whole feature on it. That would be great. So I just wanted to point that out because I think the world should know that our own Miss Henderson was the recipient of the George Maurer Lifetime Achievement Award, which was very much deserved. And then I subbed in for Councilmember Garcia at the Senior Commission last week, at which Senior Analyst Carlson gave a very good presentation on the Uber rollout and got some good feedback from the commission as to how to make sure that that rollout targeted the senior population, which is one of its very much intended populations. So that was a great presentation, and folks from Uber were there as well. So we're really looking forward to that program, and it seems to be well underway. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Just real short. I went to the honors dinner as well last Wednesday, and it was a really wonderful affair. The chamber did a wonderful job setting it up, and congratulations to all the winners, especially Todd Conrad as our new Citizen of the Year, and the Sierra Madre Playhouse as Business of the Year, both very well earned. That's my report.
Thank you so much. Councilmember Garcia?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I attended an event for the Pasadena Education Foundation, PEF, honoring and their names, but hopefully you'll report out on that. A great couple that have been champions for public education and directed and produced a documentary on public education following around basically a day of, I think, 30 or 40 people following around public educators and administrators. It was a great evening. That was on Thursday, April 30th, and that was at Pasadena City Hall. And then on May 6th, 7th, and 8th, I attended the Southern California Association of Governments, known as SCAG, general meeting. Really, the delegates votes on a couple things, some changes to the bylaws, which were non-substantive for our purposes. The budget, which includes the amount that we'll be paying for our dues, which was just over $3,000. And then the new slate of president, vice president, et cetera. So we, along with you, Madam Mayor, we were able to galvanize some of our relationships with our neighboring public officials to make sure that we're looking out for each other as small cities. And it was a great event, and I was honored to be there with you. And that concludes my report.
Thank you so much. I had similar events. On April 30th, not only did I attend the Public Education Foundation, the PEF's Celebrating Schools a night, which was fantastic. It was really neat to see all the work that our students are doing in our public schools, all the way from Sierra Madre Elementary through our middle school and at the different high schools that they all go to. I don't know if you know, our students also are able to go to Elliott Middle School and any of the other schools in the district. So they had art projects and different projects that all the students did, and they would guide you through what the work they were doing, and you could participate as well. It was really fantastic. But also that day, I was able to attend the ribbon cutting of the new Rose Angel Tea House here in Sierra Madre, same location as our other older tea house. What I really loved about this one is this one's going to combine different types of tea ceremonies. So while they have the traditional English tea, they're also going to have the Chinese tea ceremonies and the Japanese tea ceremonies as well. So I thought that was really neat how they can combine all these different cultures and how it evolves around tea. And then the Chamber of Commerce Honors event was really great. I have to give accolades to Rochelle Arizmendi, Chris Semino, and Michelle Keith for putting on such a great Chambers joint with City of Sierra Madre event. And thank you to Roberta Malfitano for helping guide our city staff and all the city staff that participated and put in everything. It was a great event where we had the visiting outside and amazing appetizers from all our different restaurants in Sierra Madre. And then we combined it with having the ceremony inside. And the only other awards that I would like to highlight that weren't mentioned already were we had a Community Youth Service Award from Frances Farnham and Kate Carr. Those two young ladies in our community do so much, and they really are going to be our next leaders, probably sitting where we're sitting someday. We also had Employee of the Year, our very own fire captain, Karen Bastillos Elizondo. And if you've known the work that she's done for the fire department, it's been fantastic. And then our super busy Public Safety Award went to the Sierra Madre Search and Rescue Team. As you've known, they've been quite occupied as of late. And then our Spirit Award for the Chamber went to, if you have not seen their streams, you must watch their little reels, Ann Verbiskar McKenzie and Hannah Jungbauer. And it was just a really great event. But after that event that night, I drove down to go to the SCAG conference. So thank you, Councilmember Parkhurst, for covering Planning Commission, because it was while we were gone. And one thing I want to share what I took back is I really got to talk to the AQMD, and they were able to give us so many free resources. There is an AQMD, they monitor our air quality in Southern California. And so they have an app that all of us can download for free, and it'll give you alerts to show when the air quality is poor, but it looks specifically at our area and other regions around us. It gives you the warning when you should not have outdoor fires, like a fire pit. It also tells you when you should have the elderly or those who have respiratory issues to stay inside. So it's a great app. Everyone should have it downloaded. They also have a great booklet that's based on post-wildfire air quality and some of the things we should do with air purifiers in our homes and other mediation tasks that we should be doing and what to look out for. So I have a contact for that. We're going to post that on our city website so that you guys can also know who to contact. They'll come out and even give you that extra professional, information and some of that guidance. So that was one of my great take-backs. We also received a lot of information on how to plan better for traffic, how to appropriately do surveys, and the SCAG has free resources, which are not free, I guess we do pay into it, but it's a system that an organization we pay into that help with sustainability and traffic surveys and traffic planning. So they even have resources on signage for those e-bikes that are in the park that we've had 2 complaints on tonight, on how to help kind of educate our youth and our residents. So that's my report. We have a lot going on this month. This May is quite busy. The Mount Wilson Trail Race is now sold out. So if you didn't buy your participation tag, you are going to have to wait at the bottom with me and many of us, and we will cheer you on, those of you who are participating. The race takes place on May 23rd at 7:30 a.m., and you can still come and cheer people on. There's activities and lots of stands to do in the Kirsten Court. Also, please join the VFW Post 3208 on this Memorial Day commemoration ceremony. It's going to be at the Pioneer Cemetery on May 25th at 11 a.m. to give tribute to those who, during the last 250 years, lost their lives while helping preserve our nation. This is going to be followed by some light refreshments also at the Pioneer Cemetery. Join the fire department at the Kensington to learn CPR basics on Saturday, May 30th from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. This program is free, and there are complimentary refreshments. There will be flyers in the back of the table, and you can find it online as well. And then the lineup for this year's summer concerts. I know everyone's been waiting for the summer concerts and the summer movies. So you can grab a flyer with the schedule in the back. You can come see some of your favorite artists, performers. The first concert starts on June 6th, I'm sorry. It's from the Pasadena Orchestra, and the first movie is on June 19th, which is Lilo and Stitch. Come enjoy a summer evening in the park with friends and family. Lots of going on. I love this month. Okay, so do we have any reports from city staff?
Madam Mayor, there are no reports from city staff.
All right. Presentations. We have two presentations. We have one for Public Works Director Brian Dickinson to present a proclamation to Public Works Week. All right. I won't make you talk. The National Public Works Week proclamation, whereas the Public Works professional focus on infrastructure, facilities, and service that are of vital importance to sustainability and resilient communities and to public health, enriched quality of life and well-being of the people of the city of Sierra Madre. And these infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of the Public Works professionals, including directors, managers, engineers, and employees at all levels of government, who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, solid waste systems, public buildings, community forests, and other assets essential for our citizens, and in the public interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and children in the city of Sierra Madre to gain knowledge of and maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs in their respective communities. This year, 2026, marks the 66th Annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association. I, Mayor Christine Lowe, City of Sierra Madre, do hereby designate the week of May 17th through May 23rd, 2026, as National Public Works Week, and urge all citizens to join with representatives of the American Public Works Association and government agencies in activities, events, and ceremonies designed to pay tribute to our public works professionals and to recognize the substantial contribution they make to protecting our national health, safety, and quality of life.
Thank you, Mayor.
I'd also like to say that in my opinion too, come on up, Stevie. So Supervisor Steve and I have both grown up in Sierra Madre, so he'll call me Chrissy. I call him Stevie.
To this day.
To this day. But they are one of our, in my opinion, are part of our first responders. They are the ones that respond during emergencies like our fire and our police. They keep our streets safe. They respond when we have flooding, and they are available all hours of the night, 24/7, to make sure that we have safe infrastructure and that we can experience less flooding as much as they can possibly remedy. And they preempt our Eaton Fire event. They preempted the winds and filled our reservoirs in the 2025 wind event, and thus the Eaton Fire, thus saving our city. So thank you so much, you guys, for National Public Works event.
Thank you.
You want to say anything?
It's a pleasure to serve all of the residents and businesses here in Sierra Madre. Like Mayor Lowe said with the proclamation, Public Works staff provides maintenance and operations of all the public infrastructure, like shed streets, water system, sewer system, our buildings, maintain our city buildings, parks. One I missed was the community forests. So with all the trees, we have our public trees and stuff, and trees are very important for providing oxygen to all of us and removing carbon dioxide. Anything from you, Stephen?
Good evening, everybody. It's been a while up here. Just that you have the hardest working public works division around. I've had the privilege of meeting a lot of divisions and seeing a lot of people out there, and you do really have a hardworking crew that is dedicated to the city of Sierra Madre. Some of us grew up in this town. and I have a lot of pride for it, myself included. And yeah, we're out there in rain and snow, and mailmen can eat that. We actually do it. So, and I do appreciate the mayor saying some nice things about the Eaton Fire. You did have your public works staff, along with the fire department, the police department, working digitally out there, and they didn't sleep for a couple of days. So I do thank you for that recognition, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to ask Kurt to come up with our annual report from the YMCA. I'm sorry you have to miss the Sierra Madre Events Committee tonight, which you also are part of.
Not a problem. I will be heading over there after this.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure to, good evening, Madam Mayor, council members, also city attorney and city manager. It's a pleasure to be here this evening and to speak to you. Thank you also, staff, Laura. Thank you very much for making this happen. Am I going to click this forward? Yes? Just a simple click forward? We can move off that slide. Really quickly, this is just kind of a summary of the types of programs. Sometimes people think of a YMCA as simply a swim and a gym. We do that and a little bit more, as you all know, and have heard from me previously and have interacted with us doing much more than that. But from aquatics, group exercise, health and wellness, fitness facilities, teen programs, family programs, sports, and community services. And boy, oh boy, this past year, I think that if we rank ordered these items, community services would probably be at the top of that list. This is just some of the things that we do in aquatics, from swim lessons, water fitness classes, over 7 water fitness classes. We have 7 water fitness classes a week. Over 300 unique individuals a year participate in that program. About 450 or so in swim lessons. Our swim crew, which is a precursor to the swim team, and the Sierra Madre Dolphins coming back to life. We hope. We haven't gotten rid of that logo on the wall, which for many of you remember that. And then lap swimmers. We have about 1,000 different individuals over the course of the year who swim laps in the city pool. Pool special events. Perfect timing. Float the Boat, Hawks Regatta. For those of you who are familiar or have not seen it previously, I would encourage you to come to the center, not this Friday, but next, and see the 8th graders, all 199 of them, who have constructed boats made out of nothing more than cardboard and duct tape. I always say to them, and trying to deconstruct them afterward, there is no limit to how much duct tape are in these boats. I think they would last from here to Catalina if they really challenged them, some of them.
Arnold's actually stocks up on duct tape, knowing that this event is coming.
Understandably. Next, the following week, we'll have the elementary school 5th grade promotion pool party. Sierra Madre Public Library Challenger event takes place this summer. 4th of July, there's a rec swim from 12 to 2 that takes place on the 4th of July in the pool, free to all participants. And then this year, we had a couple of other events. The Community Underwater Easter Egg Hunt, which we've now done the last 2 years. And then this past Halloween, we had a Halloween pool party as well. Really a fun way to utilize your facility for the community. Youth programming, again, a wide range from youth sports, summer day camp, sleepaway camp. We also have had a partnership with the YMCA of San Diego County and Camp Surf. They generously hosted 20 individuals at no cost this past year. They are doing another 20 individuals, and they even provide transportation to go all the way down to Imperial Beach, almost to the border in San Diego. So 20 individuals who were impacted significantly by the fires will be enjoying that experience again this year. Youth classes, again, the variety of them, from martial arts and PE, itty-bitty sports. We do an intro to cooking class. Yes, I teach that proudly, and it's a lot of fun. I call it an intro to eating class for most of our students. Theater, STEM, and then also a financial literacy program for youth. The ones on the left, you see some of our partnerships. Junior Clipper basketball. We partner with the LA Kings in ball hockey, and then we also have Dodger Dream Team, which is a T-ball and coach pitch event. Flag football is actually NFL related, so whether you're a Rams or Chargers fan, we have both of those options available too. Teen programs, I would say this has been one of our biggest areas of growth over the course of the last year. Monthly teen nights, youth in government, who we still have to get those kids to come here and or you all to come to the center and see inside the YAC, the Youth Activity Center, what goes on. Our program grew in the Model United Nations program from 4 students last year to 34 students this year. Not the least of which driving that growth was the fact that there was a very generous donor across the LA Metro Y who helped underwrite that $1,300 a year program and made it available to students in fire relief areas, including ours, at no cost. They literally just got back, not this past weekend, the prior weekend, from their end-of-year conference, which was a 2-night, 3-day event down at an airport hotel near LAX. Unbelievable group. We had the 3rd largest delegation of all of the 29 LA Metro Ys. Very proud to say that the students from Sierra Madre Middle School, as well as Octavia Butler School, for those of you who know that school in Pasadena, or Altadena, I guess, very impressive to see the participation level of those students, and a couple of them actually won higher level awards, as well as election to a higher level group within our MUN program, and hopefully we'll be coming back this next year. Model legislation in court. It's an amazing program for 9th through 12th graders that really focus on the California legislative process. They ended their year always over President's Day weekend, and that takes place up in Sacramento. We did have a young 9th grader who served as our delegation president, who was elected to a leadership role within that group, and she'll be coming back in her 10th grade year. So we're very excited about the prospects of our youth and government programming. Sounds like we have the mayor of the day. We need to get her involved in that program when she becomes a 6th grader. Our Get Summer program, again, is a free teen membership program, June 1st through the 15th of August, 12 to 18 years of age. Anybody who wants to participate in that program, mom and dad sign a waiver for them, and they're free to come down and use the facility as they see fit. It is a no-cost program to the participants. Feed LA, we've also been blessed to be able to provide teen meals throughout the year, both at our monthly teen nights, as well as our MUN and MLC activities. And then coming soon, we have a program called Young Men Thriving, and then as well as Teen Center Hours, where they can come, study, read, do whatever they'd like physically at the facility. Health and wellness, from group fitness and gym facilities, lunch and learn programs. This past year, we hosted earthquake preparedness, technology gaps for seniors, as well as financial planning were programs that we offered. 77 hours a week, one can come and work out at the Y, which, again, I'm not asking you to do the quick math or think about that on a daily basis, but it is 13 hours a day, Monday through Friday. We're open from 7 a.m. until 3 p.m. on Saturday, and then noon to 4. We've been open the past year since July. We've been open on Sundays from noon to 4. July 4th activities for the past 2 years. The Y's been blessed and happy to run the 3rd of July Kid Zone as part of the pre-parade picnic here in Memorial Park. And then also the last 2 years, we've helped coordinate and manage the 4th of July Firecracker Fun Run, which I think is celebrating its 15th year overall if you count all the different organizations that have run it. And this will be our 3rd. And that's in concert with SMEC, as Madam Mayor mentioned, which I'll run to next. It's just a really quick overview. I don't know we need to spend a lot of time here talking about staff training or accidents or incidents, which fortunately there are few to none. We do maintain a very vigorous training process and safety standards at the Y. We do monthly what are called ASAs, emergency trainings inside and outside our pool. We are well prepared, and again, we have a great working relationship with both PD as well as fire in terms of being able to respond quickly. The work projects on the right, I would mention those. Director Dickinson as well as his team, we've been happily working on a couple of these things, but there still are some capital improvement projects that we're working on that we need to get done. The elevator remains a project to be worked on. Handicap lift, that's on the pool. That we do have a quote for that project and need to get that completed. Resurfacing the pools, there's an urgent need to do that. And we are in the process of an RFP, I think, coming before you shortly for that work. We, last year at post-fires, the county did come and issue a notice to get that work done, and we had a year to basically let them know exactly what that plan is and intention, and we're close to that deadline. And then lastly, we have an AC unit that unfortunately we've tried to repair that needs to be replaced in the building, a little toasty in one of our gym spaces. Projects completed by this last year. We, the Y, put in a $25,000 pool pump replacement on the lap pool. Former city manager had asked us to do that prior to our latest agreement being signed, and we went ahead and did that work. And then we've also replaced the $5,000 heater on the waiting pool. 2026 opportunities, gosh, I cannot believe, I'm sure for all of you, it's also gone incredibly quickly how we're already deep into 2026. We're almost halfway home. At this point last year, I felt like we'd all lived about 4 years of work at this point. we continue to grow and increase the opportunities of being a center for community well-being. That includes not only new classes, but also embellishing those things that we have done before. This year, we were really fortunate this last November to hold the second annual Fall Pickleball Y'all tournament. I think we were the first tournament taking place on the new beautiful 8 courts in Sierra Vista Park, and we look forward to hosting the 3rd annual event this fall. Number of community members served. Obviously, this is our main purpose, and there's a wide range of how we serve. Not only increasing folks to come and use the Y, we have about 1,000 units, and that, you might say, what's 1,000 units? Whether that's one senior, one adult, or a family of 6 that belong, they all count essentially as one at the Y. So the number of people we're serving is much greater than 1,000 units. But volunteerism still remains a huge issue. We'd love to continue to work with city staff and find these people who are on this long waiting list for the community garden and figure out how to use some of our space because it needs a little TLC in the patio down below. So we will be working on that. This was just a recap and a look back, not to spend a whole lot of time, something that was 16 months ago. But again, the photos, for those of you who haven't seen them before, the one on the left was when we immediately set up shop in PCC's parking lot at the beginning of the Eaton fire. Within a day, that's what the Sierra Madre room at the center looked like, filled with people and things. And then we continue to serve. We have an amazing grant from a group called Direct Relief in Santa Barbara, which allows us to continue to serve close to 70 families a week, Monday evening, Tuesday and Wednesday mornings. And then on Thursday, we also provide 125 to-go boxes for those that are insecure in some way, shape, or form, food-wise. And that's fresh fruits and vegetables that are provided every single Thursday between 10:30 and 12:30. And that is the end of my presentation. I welcome any and all questions you might have.
Madam Mayor? Thank you for that presentation. A question on the membership that you've got or the unit that you've got. What percentage of them are Sierra Madre residents?
They're close to 45%, Councilmember Parkhurst, are Sierra Madreans. We do have a lot of Arcadians, obviously being within 50 yards of the border. We have a lot of folks that find their way to us. We don't have a lot of Pasadenans, and that's, boy, oh boy, I am a Pasadenan, a 35-year Pasadenan, and it wasn't until our girls started playing the Sierra Madre Girls Softball Association did we really spend a lot of time coming this direction. I don't know. If somebody could figure that one out, I think they'd have a real touch to figure out how we get Pasadenans to come east to this fine
I'd
village.
like to see more Sierra Madrens, frankly, at the Sierra Madre YMCA.
Understood. Yeah, we'd love to serve anybody. We're not currently turning anybody away to the question of are we be able to provide services to everybody who wants to. So yeah, and again, we still maintain the name Pasadena, obviously affiliated with the center, because that's where the center began in 1886, even though we're not physically in that city.
So on June 6th, you reached out to me about an event that was happening on June 7th, or excuse me, you reached out to me on January 6th for an event that was happening on January 7th with ABC News and KTLA and a whole bunch of folks there. Rather short notice. This was part of a trend that has happened with the YMCA. There was one on August 2nd, where we received notice on July 28th, an event on December 16th, where we received information on December 1st. And at that time, I'd asked how we can improve communications better so that, we've got some advanced planning on the notices. And at that time, you had said that you were going to be working on it, you were going to be going forward. Yet what happened on January 27th was we got another outreach for an event on January 29th. This seems to be a recurring problem. It is troubling to me, and I'd like to know what you're going to do about it and how can we make sure this does not happen again, because I do not want to have this conversation the next year you come to give us a presentation. You have to do a lot of great services, but this is something that is very difficult for the city to manage.
Yeah,
And not only them, but council, we can't show up to things when we're given 24 hours notice.
Understood. I think it's very fair pushback. I think, again, our purpose is to serve the community first and foremost, and that, I hope, is the priority for everyone here. Relative to parking events and/or events that bring folks into the city, we've had a conversation with the city manager. I'm very well aware of the need for notice, especially if it relates to other services coming to help support. Those events, I'm not going to deflect, but I'm going to be very fair and transparent with you and tell you those are not all events that we have controlled just unilaterally here at our facility.
Let me just correct you. That is our facility, right? That is our building. It's a lease that you have with it. And so, if you're going to be coming to our facility and you're going to be using our resources and you're going to be asking for our staff time, I'm actually going to be a little bit more insistent that you give us some more notice on that. Because I'm glad, I understand these things are outside of your control, but it is in our city limits, it is our facility, it is our resources, and I don't think that's acceptable.
Understood. And I hear you loudly and clearly. I think it's a very fair question and/or statement. I wasn't trying to take ownership of the building, but I think, boy, that the esprit de corps and the mindset is that we are working together. We do lease the facility. So no, I don't have, there's no question or quarrel as to whether it's your building or not. We know who owns the building. We know that it's your city, it's your resources, and we need to do a better job of letting you know when we expect either participation of the council to be there, whether it be for publicity purposes. We're not obviously asking you all to work an event like that. City staff may be required, and I think we've had the message loud and clear that we need to give greater notification, especially if the event's over 250 people. And we will continue to do that. We have not had any events subsequent to that event, which again was put on with Amazon and it was put on with our central association folks. And we could have said, no, we're not going to do the event at all. We can't do it in this window of time. We thought it was more important to take the frustration and then to not hold the event and not have people benefit from it. People were given $1,000 gift cards that day. They were given laptops. It was a needed event for those people who are still negatively impacted. It doesn't mean that we do it without regard for the needs of the city. So understood, loudly heard. I hope the focus isn't what we've done or failed to do, but that we get equal value and appreciation for those things that we have continued to do for the community.
Understood.
I think I would like to clarify too, part of the reason this has come up is when you go to the Sierra Madre Events Committee, also meeting tonight, we have so many events in Sierra Madre, and what happens is we end up, the taxpayers, me as a taxpayer, end up footing the bill for things like police resources, public works resources, and such, for that it's starting to become more tasked on our budget, as well as maintaining parts of the 611 East Sierra Madre Boulevard facilities. And so when we're trying to navigate how to pay for everything in the future, if we have outside events that come in that cost staffing costs as well as public works and everything else, it's not us showing up, it's the time actually accrues that we're spending taxpayer dollars that we don't have in our budget. So that's why we need to know ahead of time so we can plan to try to do the best we can at navigating special events. And we are coming forward with a new process for how we have permitting and such for special events, and they do require a lengthier time so that we can make sure we have them staffed appropriately and we're not hindering our residents and our businesses with traffic on the streets, blocking our public works buildings when they need to get in and out and such. So that's the reasoning for why we need more notice for these things.
Completely understood.
Thank you.
Kind of a follow-up question. So I do acknowledge your services have been great. We get a lot of positive feedback across the board. But I do share Councilmember Parkhurst's concern of how we can, and it's a question, how can we get a higher percentage of Sierra Madreans in those programs? Are you guys capable of running more ads or doing more outreach? How would you approach that question?
Yeah, I think advertising, placing those spaces and ads is not a cost center that we have typically, as an association, have taken on. It is very much community driven, and it's very much word of mouth within a community is how we really do our work in our business. So I do think being able to talk about all the activities through things such as the Mountain Views News, using the Village View and that opportunity to share constantly through the city's online capability or essentially online newsletter. We continue to lean on that as being an important way to tell our story. We need more people to know. Yes, I would say when I started 3.5 years ago, you would ask people in the city, where's the Y? And they would say, we don't have a Y in Sierra Madre. I don't hear that as much anymore. I take that as a positive sign, but we need to do better, and we'd love to increase the number of Sierra Madreans that are participating and using our facility.
How do you suppose people in Arcadia seem to be so knowledgeable about it, aside from the people that live near it?
I don't know that they're any more well educated about it, but they don't have a Y in their community either. We don't outreach to the city of Arcadia. We don't work with the Arcadia City Schools. They have a limitation on being able to work with only those facilities that are within their city limits. So the work we do is with PUSD through Sierra Madre Elementary as well as Sierra Madre Middle School. We also outreach to the private schools that are here in town to ask how we can partner with them. Okay. So there's a concerted effort to have Sierra Madreans be the predominant users of our facility. And as a percentage, it is the highest majority of the people using our building by far. But would we like to have 60, 70, 80% be Sierra Madreans? I think that would be terrific.
Sure. Thank you.
All right.
Madam Mayor. So historically, we've heard lots of community concern about scheduling and open pool time, and it seems like those concerns, at least as publicly voiced, have reduced over time, which, you know, I'll give you credit for. I do still hear from time to time folks' frustration about understanding the scheduling and the inability to either, you know, access that information through your website or through showing up or calling. I don't know if that's something that's sort of an ongoing project in terms of having those scheduling opportunities available in ways that are convenient for the community.
Yeah, it is a website that, our website is managed as part of LA Metro. We have our own specific page, though, that is part of that, so somebody doesn't have to worry about what's going on in Torrance or San Pedro when they go to the web. However, I mean, again, I think that information, while it's updated and accurate, it is still really heavily reliant on people having the app to be able to go on and schedule, whether it be for their lap swim window or time or upcoming classes. It's also communicated via the app if for some reason there's a change or a closure or a group fitness instructor has called out sick. People are also always welcome to call our front desk and are responded to. So I think we strive to always be as communicative as we can. It isn't easy, but in terms of more availability or providing more hours to the community, I think we've really addressed that and increased that over the course even of the last year.
No, I agree. We have not heard nearly as much negative comments about the availability of the facility, and that does seem to have increased. The availability seems to have increased, so thank you for that.
Sure.
Well, thank you so much tonight, Kirk, and we appreciate the activities and the Sierra Madre Middle School 8th grade raft float event is one of the most memorable and exciting that's been going on for probably 20 years now. So thank you so much.
Yeah, you're very welcome. And the last thing I would add, if any of you, again, while I think I've shared my contact information, I'll happily do that again. We need not wait until this opportunity or this evening to be responsive to you, and I'm happy to be available to you to contact or discuss anything that you have ahead of time. All right?
Thank you
you
so
very
much.
Appreciate it.
All right, moving on to public comment for items not on the agenda. Any person wishing to speak before City Council is asked to complete a speaker card and provide it to the city clerk prior to the start of the meeting. Speakers are generally limited to 3 minutes, and time will not, cannot be delegated to another. Any changes to the allotted time, I will tell you, we're going to stick at 3 minutes tonight. Under the Brown Act, the City Council is prohibited from discussing or taking action on any item not listed on the posted agenda. Persons with a disability who require a modification, please let us know, and we will accommodate you. And Madam Clerk, do we have any public comments not on the agenda?
Yes, Madam Mayor, for the record, the city clerk's office received 2 emails for items not on the agenda. Both those emails were forwarded to the city council in advance of this meeting. We have 3 requests from speakers. The first of the three is from Grace Brown.
Okay. Good evening, council members. Saturday mornings for our family are spent exactly the same week. We walk to Syndicate for coffee and sometimes bagels or their morning buns, and we make a stop at Memorial Park. Every week, we see the same families who have become friends. We see kids riding their scooters and bikes around the grass. We see young couples enjoying a picnic date, and we see the elderly from the Kensington taking their daily walks around the park. What always stands out to me about Memorial Park isn't just about the activity, it's the feeling of community it carries. It's one of the few places where people of all ages can simply just be together. It feels like the very best version of Sierra Madre. But as I look around, I also notice something else. The aging playground equipment, the worn landscaping, and the outdated areas of the park that don't fully reflect the beauty, warmth, and pride that define our community. And that's what made me realize how important this conversation really is. To me, Memorial Park is the heartbeat of Sierra Madre. It's more than just a park. It's one of the few places that truly belongs to everyone in the city. It's where we come together for our annual 4th of July celebration. It's where local artists get to share their beautiful pieces and sell them. It's where generations come together for our movie and concert evenings that are starting later this month. And it's where my son comes to play, Micah, every single day. I know it's going to be a core childhood memory for him every day he's spent at Memorial Park. I am firsthand seeing kids growing up at this park. This is where I found my community of moms who are also in the same life stage. And this is also where my family is building traditions. I know for many residents, Memorial Park is one of the first places they think of when they think of what makes Sierra Madre so special. And because it means so much to so many people, I believe it deserves thoughtful investment and care. I am asking the Council and Community Services Department to prioritize the Memorial Park beautification in upcoming budgeting discussions. Even phased improvements can make a meaningful difference. First and foremost, just updating the playground equipment and that flooring there, refreshing the light fixtures and the benches, and enhancing the greenery would immediately improve the experience for residents and visitors alike. These are the kind of improvements that make people feel proud of where they live. They create spaces and memories that feel safer, more welcoming, and more connected to the character of Sierra Madre. My hope is not to simply renovate this park, but to strengthen the place that already serves as the emotional center for our community. I understand there are a lot of needs in this city. I know that budgeting is a really difficult conversation and decision that needs to be had. And I respect the responsibility of you having to balance all those priorities. But I also want you to know that I'm committed to helping however I can, whether that means participating in community outreach, gathering resident feedback, supporting grant opportunities, or helping bring people together around this effort. Thank you for your time, your leadership, and your openness to hearing my perspective. I truly appreciate your service to Sierra Madre, and I truly love this city, and I hope we can grow our family and live here forever like some of you guys have. And I hope we can work together to give Memorial Park the upgrade it deserves. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next speaker, please.
Madam Mayor, the next speaker is Lillian Maimone. Maimone.
This is my first time doing this, so first I want to apologize that I did not write the names correctly, addressing all of you. Madam Mayor, council members, and city manager, and city attorney. Did I leave anything else? Okay. I'm here to talk about potholes. And so a little bit, I'm going to read what I have here. I moved from Altadena to Sierra Madre approximately 9 months ago due to the conditions following the fires. Since moving here, I have come to appreciate the community and take pride in the neighborhood, which is why I felt it was important to speak tonight about Lima Street. Lima Street currently has 42 potholes. I live on Cardway at the top, so it's the little Disneyland ride going all the way down. At this point, this is no longer wear and tear. It is a roadway condition affecting safety, drivability, and the quality of life of the surrounding property owners and residents. I want to add something more to that. A lot of people have older cars, and a lot of people don't have brand-new tires. This affects the tires. They're going to see themselves having problems with their tires. I have newer tires, and it has affected mine. Also, it can cause, if there's an affected tire, you're probably looking at alignment too, which alignments are over $100 if you get it done right. So that's the other problem. Property owners pay substantial taxes and should be able to safely drive on their own street without constantly navigating potholes, dips, deteriorating surfaces. I see a lot of people going like this, and even bicycle riders. They're just going like this. It's zigzag. Unfortunately, the quality of much of the patchwork has been poor, and that's where I see the biggest problem. I see a lot of the it's right in front of my house. There's typically just 3 employees, of which one's working, the other 2 are watching. And the patchwork is very, very poor. If they did good patchwork, we wouldn't have these problems where the majority of the dips are 3 inches deep. Many of the patches create dips, uneven transitions, which appear to further weaken the roadway and contribute to continued deterioration. I understand there are budget limitations. I looked at it on your website. You've had some major cuts, and it's hard for the city. But repetitive, temporary, low quality, and I mean low quality repairs, instead of properly repairing it, will ultimately cost more. So I respectfully ask the city to seriously evaluate a more durable, long-term solution for Lima Street. And there's a lot of other ones too, but that's the worst. These are assumptions on page 2. 3 employees, because I've seen it. I don't know how much they make. I'm assuming, I'm just going to put $30 per hour. So you got, I did the math, and you can see, I'm not going to put it up for everybody, but.
So sorry, we have a 3-minute
Oh, we're done.
limit. I'm sorry.
Okay, so the total cost is $630 for 1 day, 3 guys doing all the potholes.
And thank you for giving us this printout so we can read it, even though I had to
Absolutely.
cut you
Thank
off.
you
I'm
for your
sorry.
time.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Mr. City Manager or our Public Works Manager, I believe that the northern section of Lima is on our water replacement and concurrent or subsequent street repair list, and maybe at the top of the list. Is that correct?
It is. At the March 24th City Council meeting, the City Council awarded a contract for the water main replacement. After we're done doing the water main, we'll resurface the street.
And when do we expect that work to begin?
Don't have a schedule right now for this construction. We're just finalizing all the contract documents, so it should be hopefully within the next couple of weeks, get them mobilized, because they have to order all the materials and stuff before they mobilize to start the excavation and installation of the pipeline.
Great, and then once they start, how long roughly, not holding you to it, but just roughly speaking, is it a weeks or months project?
Should take maybe a month, month and a half, if that, because it's just a straight shot and it's not that long a pipeline to be installed. So any contractor worth their salt should be able to finish it fairly quickly.
And the plan is to then repair the street after the line is replaced?
Yep, we'll get it rehabilitated.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you. So all the neighbors on North Lima should anticipate and notice that they will be doing the road work coming up. All right, next public comment, please.
Madam Mayor, the third speaker card is from Caroline Brown.
Good evening, Ms. Brown.
Caroline Brown, and I'm going to try to finish before that thing starts flashing yellow and red at me, because it's very disconcerting. I don't feel like the people that are at the podium are talking to you. They're busy trying to beat the clock. All right, I know you're very busy people. I listened to you tonight talk about your busy schedules, but I'm here to invite you again to go with me to observe and look up close to all the city open space that the Sierra Madre Mountain Conservancy has conservation easements over. and how we're trying to make that presence known in the conservation element that you're upgrading in for the general plan. I've taken city manager and especially public works director before, and one council person at a time, because I understand your Brown Act. I could take two, couldn't I? And it's very important that you showed your appreciation for our public works director tonight, because I got a phone call one time from Bruce Inman, the public works director, who asked me to bring down a copy of the conservation easement, which I did. Someone came to his desk asking to go across Sierra Madre Mountain Conservancy to a piece of property in Arcadia. And he said, no, that can't happen. But he wanted to see for sure the conservation easement wording. So I brought it to him. And then after I finished talking with him, I went down to Arcadia to talk to the public works director there. And he said, no, nobody's come down here to try to develop a piece of property in Arcadia that they'd have to go through Sierra Madre open space to get to. And he said, your city wouldn't allow that, would they? And I said, no. He said, well, I would hope not. But anyway, one of the things that's very important for the people to realize is we are the oldest private small conservancy in the San Gabriel Valley. I discovered that by looking online one time to find out what everybody else was up to. And we brought $3.1 million to the city of Sierra Madre through Proposition A funding in 1994, I think it was 95, and bought open space with it. We gave the deeds to the city and kept the conservation easement, and that was on the advice of the city attorney at the time, because we were a very small board. He didn't want us to take on the requirements of insurance for that. The city would hold the insurance over the open space, but we would hold the conservation easements. So we pay careful attention to what goes on in the community from that standpoint. And it was very interesting, early days when we were trying to acquire some property, we sent letters out to all the private ownerships of property in the foothills, the area that we were trying to conserve. And one in particular, it was a family that had to garner their fiduciary responsibilities to their family. And so you just couldn't call on the phone every few minutes and say, how's mom? Because they were having to wait until she passed away until they could divide up the assets and decide to give the opportunity for the conservation easement to go to the city of Sierra Madre. Anyway, let's go on a field trip.
Yes, let's do that.
You guys are busy, but let's go on a field trip.
Let's do that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, guys. And we can do a special meeting and schedule everybody if it's an event that we would like to all take a look for something. And we could schedule you for a presentation once in a while, because you have the knowledge of Sierra Madre that none of us have.
I could use more than 3 minutes, but in terms of a big group, it's better one car, because there's some tiny squeezy places that I put you in my Subaru.
Oh, Subarus are the best.
And we get there.
Thank you so much, Caroline.
Madam Mayor, at this time, there are no other speaker cards for items not on the agenda.
Thank you so much. All right, we're going to move on to public hearing. We will now open the public hearing for the presentation for ordinance 1493 and for ordinance number 1494. City Manager, do we have staff presentations for tonight?
I believe we do. We have Planner Wong who will give a presentation on this item.
Good evening, Planner Wong.
Evening, Mayor, City Council members. Tonight, the City Council will be reviewing ordinance number 1493, amending Chapter 12.28 for house and building numbering in our Sierra Madre Municipal Code. Part of this proposed amendment would be updating each section of Chapter 12.28 as a general cleanup, and also more specifically in section 0204, number to be supplied by Director of Planning and Community Preservation. We will be updating the department responsibility for address assignment, and also removing some outdated language regarding cost of the actual service. Currently, the code states that this service is free of cost. And additionally, we are proposing to amend section 030 for house owner duty, which would align our requirements with Chapter 5 of the California Building Code in relation to the house number size. Currently, the code states 3 inches, and we are proposing to amend it to 4 inches with a half-inch width stroke as well. If members of the audience or members at home would like to view the draft amendments, is also viewable on our QR code to the right of the slide. This municipal code text amendment qualifies for a common sense exemption under California Environmental Quality Act, Section 15061, subsection B3, and that these proposed amendments would not result in a physical change to environment and would not have a significant environmental effect. Lastly, it is recommended that the City Council conduct its first reading of ordinance number 1493, amending Chapter 12.28 for house and building numbering of Title 12, streets, sidewalks, and public places of our municipal code. And that concludes my report. If the council has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Questions from council?
Madam Mayor? Thank you for the presentation, Senator Wong. So does this put any requirements on current homeowners for signage or numbering or anything like that?
Thank you for the question, Councilmember Parkers. To your, that would be no. So all the current house numbers can maintain, and this is only for newly assigned house numbers
Great,
after
thank
this
you.
adoption.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
I'm also just curious, whose responsibility is it to put the addresses on like a curb in front of a house if you have a new resident or even a current resident?
Thank you for the question. It would be the responsibility of the homeowner.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, thank you so much. All right, do we have any, let's see, and do we have any public comment regarding this item?
Madam Mayor, the city clerk's office, for the record, did not receive any public comment via email, and we do not have any speaker cards presently.
All right, open this for discussion.
I have 2 corrections, basically just grammatical, that I've shown to the city attorney. I'm happy to read them if you think, I don't know if the easiest way to do it, but if folks want to turn to 12.28.030, house owner duty. So as recommended, it reads, it is the duty of each house owner to place conspicuously and maintain the official number of the house owned in front of the house or structure fronting the street. And so there's just, I think, words that shouldn't be there. So I really think that the words of the house owned should be struck. So it says conspicuously, actually it should be conspicuously maintain, not and maintain. Conspicuously maintain the official number in front of the house or structure fronting the street, et cetera, et cetera. So it's literally just a correction to, I think it isn't correct. And then in 20.20.40, in the first edition, it talks about where the lot has accessed from an alley or rear driveway. I think that should actually be access, not accessed. So nothing substantive, just corrections.
Thank you. Any other discussion items? All right, can I have a motion, please?
Move to approve?
Oh, sorry, do we have more that we need to, okay. We have a motion to move to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in,
As amended?
oh, as amended, yes, with the grammatical corrections. All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Can we
Aye.
please have one next? Thank you. All right. Senior Planner Wolf. Good evening. This one is tough.
Good evening, Mayor Lowe and City Council. My report to you tonight covers the topics of local regulation for the production of accessory dwelling units as proposed under Ordinance 1494, along with the funding that can help Sierra Madre mitigate impacts caused by development of ADUs through the administration of public facilities fees for accessory dwelling units. But first of all, I wanted to cover, what is an accessory dwelling unit? Well, you might have heard it referred to as an ADU. That's what we call it there behind the counters, an ADU. It is a second dwelling unit, secondary to the primary dwelling unit, which is usually a single-family home, but in some cases can be a multifamily dwelling. And they come in three basic forms: detached, attached, and an interior conversion of existing space. So Ordinance 1494 has been prepared with the intent to align with state ADU law as enforced by the California Department of Housing and Community Development to support the housing elements strategy to remove government constraints, to clarify ambiguous provisions, to update historic preservation and tree protection standards, and to provide better streamlined approach to permitting ADUs. The analysis on the administration of public facility fees for ADUs has been prepared with the intent to identify a means to fund improvements for public facilities and to incentivize smaller, more affordable ADUs. So the new state laws include owner occupancy not being required within junior ADUs that have an independent bathroom. Owner occupancy is still required if that JADU does not have an independent bathroom, which is not required to have. Updates also include the advancement of a certificate of occupancy for an ADU, which is built prior to the reconstruction of a primary dwelling that was destroyed in a disaster recovery situation. It also streamlines the ADU permitting process. It's all kind of on screen here, but it implements a 15-day and a 60-day turnaround for reviews of certain degrees. It also implements an appeal process for decisions that deny the application for any reason. And it also institutes a requirement for cities to allow a combination of certain ADUs. And what's shown on screen and what we present as a state-mandated ADU includes one attached ADU, one junior ADU, and one detached ADU. And that is in addition to the one ADU that the state requires that the cities approve. And so that's a total of 4 ADUs on a single-family property. The state also clarifies how impact fees can be applied and changes the way an ADU is regulated based on size from a building structure to interior living space. The California Department of Housing and Community Development, or HCD, has included additional provisions that allow for the way the city can review an ADU application when it is combined with another application, another proposal to, for example, construct a single-family home. In this case, we see some applications come forward that have the construction of a new single-family home, and if it's a 2-story, it may be subject to discretionary review. And so state requires that an ADU be reviewed ministerially. And so the challenge has been that we can't review the entire application ministerially because part of it is subject to discretionary approval. The state has said that the cities can separate those projects out from one another and put the ADU on hold while the discretionary approval is pending. And HCD has also explicitly said that the cities must allow for at least, or not at least, but at most 4 ADUs of certain types on a single-family property. So the summary of amendments in Ordinance 1494, which are the local amendments for ADU provisions, include the alignment of terms and definitions with reference to state ADU law. It updates the existing definitions that we have and doesn't update some of those definitions, which were not, there was no onus to based on the state law updates. It also includes the limitation on ADUs from being created within the habitable areas of a multifamily dwelling. Includes revisions to the floor area standards to specify interior livable space. It maintains the regulation of angle plane standards for height and building form. It also reinstates on-site parking requirements within the hillside management zone. And now that'll be alongside the existing parking requirements within the residential canyon zone. It also includes the update to a code section regarding what currently reads as exemptions. It'll update that to be more clearly stated as state mandated ADUs. And that becomes fully aligned with Government Code Section 66323. The ordinance also includes a full revision of the application procedure to be in alignment with the 15-day and 60-day turnaround, along with the appeal procedure. It also includes a revision of historic preservation provisions that are in aligned with the recent amendments to the discretionary demolition permit ordinance. And lastly, it includes general cleanup. The ordinance is consistent with general plan policies under the housing element, specifically Goal 2.0 and policies 2.1 and 2.5, which encourage construction of a variety of homes that include accessory dwelling units. Ordinance 1494 is exempt from environmental review under Public Resources Code Section 21080.17, which categorically exempts all ordinances from environmental review under the California Environmental Quality Act. The recommendation for the City Council tonight is to introduce Ordinance 1494 for first reading by title only, amending Section 17.08.020, words, terms, phrases defined, of Chapter 17.08, definitions, and Chapter 17.22, accessory dwelling units, of Title 17, zoning of the Sierra Madre Municipal Code. So the Planning Commission's recommendation to adopt the ordinance is forwarded to the City Council and is included in the agenda report as Planning Commission Resolution 2603. Once it is fully adopted, the ordinance will be forwarded to HCD for review in accordance with Government Code Section 66326. And before I continue my presentation into the topic of public facilities, does City Council have any questions for staff?
I think we can probably wait towards the end.
Okay.
Thank you.
Public facilities fees are also called development impact fees or mitigation fees. They were originated under Assembly Bill 1600, signed into California law in 1987, to set a standard for fee collection and ensure that the fees are mitigating specific project impacts, not general government operations. As it is adopted under Sierra Madre's ordinance, it is based on a nexus study that was performed in 2006, and the fees charged are periodically updated. That nexus study was performed using the construction cost index and a residential density factor to determine the cost of the impacts. Also in 2006, it was adopted under ordinance number 1251 and is codified currently under Sierra Madre Municipal Code chapters 15.52. Public facilities fees can fund capital improvement projects such as new or replacement public safety vehicles, renovations of public restrooms, renovations of the public library, improvements to public parking facilities, citywide ADA accessibility improvements, water utility infrastructure, new utility maintenance vehicles, and even new recreation or renovated recreation facilities. And just as a side note, recent legislation now mandates that local nexus studies be updated by 2030 and every 8 years thereafter. So that'll be coming up. So what you see on the slide at the top here is the current 25-26 public facilities fee rate schedule for the residential land use category. We break it down into two subcategories, one for single family and one for multifamily. And public facilities fees are applicable to new ADUs that are more than 750 square feet of interior livable space. Additionally, they are only charged proportionally relative to the primary dwelling unit size. So for example, if there is an 800 square foot ADU proposed and the primary dwelling units, in this case a single family home, is of 3,200 square feet, the factor is 1/4 of that. And so you would apply a 1/4 factor to the public facilities fees, which factors out to a total of roughly $19,000. You can see it on screen. In a multifamily dwelling case, we would look at, there's not one dwelling in a multifamily dwelling, so we would look at either the largest dwelling if that data point is available, or the average multifamily dwelling size, and compare that against the ADU size. So as you see on screen, an 800 square foot ADU to a 1,600 square foot multifamily dwelling would have a 0.5 factor, and would multiply that into the multifamily fee rate schedule, which factors out to a total of about $18.5 thousand. Back in July of 2021, City Council determined these fees are a financial barrier to ADU production and provided staff with direction to not charge these fees for ADUs. To date, no ADU has been charged a public facilities fee. And a study of ADU applications processed from 2020 to 2025 finds that the city has forgone funds for public facilities totaling $1.7 million, or almost $300,000 per year. Statistics in that ADU study of the applications received from 2020 to 2025 also reveal some information about the overall average sizes for ADUs and the overall average values for the relative size between ADUs and primary dwelling units. It also revealed that the majority of ADUs we see are not even 750 square feet. And then it also revealed some information about how many are actually built and how many are in progress and how many have been abandoned as a project. So tonight, city staff is seeking direction from City Council to prepare a resolution on the administration of public facilities fees for ADUs. And this comes on the onus that now, instead of back in 2021, when only 2 ADUs, one junior ADU and one regular ADU, could be permitted on a single family property, now today, 4. So that value has doubled. So we have, for consideration for City Council tonight, prepared several approaches to this. The first is a status quo approach, continue to waive the fees for all ADUs. The other opposite end of the approach that you see on screen is number 3, is charge fees for all ADUs that apply. The second option there is a middle ground. It's to charge fees for ADUs under certain circumstances. And essentially what that means is we would not be charging the fee for a junior ADU and one ADU, the first ADU, regardless of its size. But ADUs thereafter would be subject to the public facility fee if the state law allows for that. And then if an application came forward with 2 ADUs, the smallest of those 2 ADUs would be considered the first of those ADUs. And then City Council did, back in 2021, find that the fees are somewhat high. And so there are options to further reduce this fee. The first option would be to just apply across the board a multifamily rate to all ADUs. Another option might be to establish a new residential land use fee. Essentially what you see on screen can be simplified to say, let's cap it at a 0.4 rate, or whatever rate the City Council finds appropriate. But then even with that cap is still to further reduce it through the proportional relationship between an ADU and a primary dwelling unit. So enforcing a public facility fee on qualified ADUs could generate a modest new revenue stream for capital facilities funded in the following accounts: for general government services, library, public safety, parks, which falls under Quimby, transportation, water, and sewer services. So not only does the public facilities fee fund these types of projects, but it also has the possibility of discouraging the production of larger ADUs, thereby encouraging the production of smaller and more affordable ADUs. That concludes my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions from City Council.
Thank you so much, Planner Wolf. Questions?
I'm trying to recall, having read that, at 500 square feet, I think that is the cheapest way to go in, right? Minimum number of fees.
That would be correct. There are other factors which increase the cost, and at 500 square feet, that's basically the threshold at which school district developer fees can be applied.
Okay.
And then as a project basis, if you're constructing a new 500 square foot building that causes an impact, which then requires a low impact development plan for stormwater runoff capture.
And then I see that there's another gradation up to 600 square feet. What is the significance of that number? Is that just an average we came up with, or is that?
The 600 was an average found within the study.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Could I make a quick just edit on that one section? Because we were talking about a junior ADU, and a junior ADU exceeds 500 square feet. It's an existing term that we have different under Sierra Madre section 17.08.020, but state law limits the size of a junior ADU to 500 square feet, but we don't have that in the Sierra Madre language. Could we add that to our Sierra Madre section 17.08.020 to match the state ADU law limit?
That is absolutely something we can do, and I believe City Council can approve the first reading with that amendment too tonight.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not changing anything. It's just making sure it's defined. Okay, thanks.
I wondered what the definition, either, probably both, our code and state law, with respect to multifamily. Wondering, just somewhat for interest and also, maybe helping guide the discussion around the policy. At what point does a, single-family parcel with one home on it, having developed, a number of these available ADU, JADUs, and things like that, is there at a point at which it actually sort of becomes a multifamily situation? Because, it is sort of starting to look a little bit like, like a bungalow court or, some of our other non-linear or non-height type apartment complexes. So I just wonder, is the definition of multifamily such that there's some gray area as to what point, if I were to put 4 ADUs on my lot, I'd become a multifamily, unit or parcel?
Thank you for the question, and that is a great question, by the way. You're opening up the gray areas here. And so, first of all, I think there is some parts of state law which state that an ADU is not a multifamily unit. And then when we're looking at a property and determining, whether we apply a single-family rate or a multifamily rate for public facilities fee, we have to look at the character, because there could be a multifamily zoned property which only has a single-family development on it. And in that case, it is applied as a single family, even though it's within a multifamily zone. And the opposite can be true too. There might be a non-conforming property within the single-family zone that has more than one primary dwelling unit on it. It would be characterized then as multifamily. And so it's case by case. We look at the character. The public facilities fee regulations have us look at the character of the property and its land use.
And then I just had one clarifying question. Oh, sorry.
Am I not loud enough?
Oh, there.
Oh, there we go.
One question on the development fee, the various accounts that, are the public facility fees allocated amongst those various accounts on a, sort of set basis, or are they directed in one way or the other, kind of depending on the nature of the project, or is it just that every fee, X% goes to water, Y% goes to library, et cetera?
So yes, the fee charge would go to all accounts. What we would be charging is the total amount adjusted for the proportional difference.
And then of that amount, there's some schedule somewhere that shows how much goes in, how much of that fee is allocated to each of these, whatever, seven accounts?
Yes, and it's not even across the board. So I did abbreviate that for the purpose of the staff report, but there are different amounts that go into different categories. And those would be adjusted appropriately based on that factor.
Got it. Thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Wait 1 second, yes?
Oh.
Mayor, you had a question about defining a JADU, correct? And the question was about whether there's a 500-foot limitation reflected in our ordinance?
No, mine was that the state wording in their code says that a junior ADU law limits their size to 500 square feet. In section 17.08.020 of Sierra Madre's municipal code, let's see, junior accessory dwelling unit doesn't define the 500 square feet.
So we have elsewhere in the code limited ADUs, JADUs to be, it says interior livable space for a junior ADU shall not exceed 500 square
Okay.
feet. So it's in there.
It's consistent already. Thank you so much. It was a lot of reading. Go ahead.
So I'm trying to wrap my head around this a little bit. So we've got the chapter 17 edits that are here. And then there are the fees that we have, and the fees are part of 1522, is that right?
15.52.
15, okay, thank you. So are there two separate decisions here? One on all of the markups in chapter 17, and then on the actual fee schedule for the ADUs, is that correct?
That is correct, and just to be very clear about that, the regulation changes and all the changes under Title 17 are going to be within the decision of Ordinance 1494. The other part about that, it's not a decision so much as we're just asking for City Council's direction.
Got it, okay, so we've got a vote on on Ordinance 1494, which is the changes, but there's a separate decision that we have on the way to assess the fees.
That is correct.
Great, thank you for that clarification.
More questions? I do have one more just grammatical editing note. In section 17.20.030, the wording says on a lot with an existing or proposed, it says 1/2 of 1 mile walking distance when it's referred to parking. And then the 17.20.030 F3 says 1/2 mile. So in one sense, it says 1/2 of one mile. The other one says 1/2 mile. Can we just be consistent with probably 1/2 of 1 mile?
That would accurately reflect the government code, yes.
Thank you so much. All right, I think, is there more questions? Okay, thank you so much, Planner Wolf.
Thank you.
We can move on to public comment. Do we have anybody for public comment on this agenda item?
Madam Mayor, no speaker cards were submitted and no emails received by the city clerk's office.
All right, we can open for discussion. I could say this was quite a discussion when it was in Planning Commission, and I was sitting there trying to understand. So then reading this this weekend, I had like, so many emails to poor Planner Wolf. And so thank you for all your help, because now I think I understand exactly what we're looking at. So thank you.
Madam Mayor, could I suggest that we split this into
Yes.
the two?
Agreed.
Read my mind.
Do you want to do easier first?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I can't hear the question. I'm not sure if you're speaking on the mic.
Sorry, I just asked if she wanted to split the item into the discussion of ordinance 1494 as separate from the guidance on the fee schedule.
Thank you, I heard that.
And then I was wondering, do we want to start with the easiest first, I'd say, and then get on to the difficult? Okay, so let's start with the cleanup language and the adaptation of the language from our current code to state code. And then last, we'll move on to the fees.
I have no discussion on ordinance 1494.
I don't know if we're allowed any discussion. I mean, it's the state code, and we have to adopt it, right?
Well, I think there are other.
We could
cleanup
make it more
things.
strict. So I agree.
I don't have any discussion.
So I would move to approve ordinance 1494, amending section 17.08.020, words, terms, phrase defined of chapter 17.08 definitions, and chapter 17.22 accessory dwelling units of title 17 zoning of the Sierra Madre Municipal Code.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Moving on to the more intricate item of what we really should decide on, the administration of public facilities fees for applicable accessory dwelling units. How do you guys feel about which path to take?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
So I'm looking at the first way to look at it, I guess. It's on the third page of the staff report where we have the fee schedule, and then dividing the size of the ADU by the size of the existing dwelling. I do take issue with that. I think it's not equitable, because if you look at the last example where we have an 800 square foot ADU on a property with the existing 700 square foot family home, they have to pay over 100%, so they have to pay the full 75,000. But if you had, let's say, a 5,500 square foot home, and that same 800 square foot ADU is on that property, that's only 14%, so it'd be just shy of 11,000. So, I would say probably the same impact to the community, but the person that has a smaller house has a larger impact or a larger fee to pay. So I'm not sure that I could agree with that process of doing it. That's just my personal opinion on that one. So I don't know what other suggestions you guys would agree with, but I think it's problematic.
Councilmember Garcia, do you mind if I ask the question? Because I understood that.
Could you talk to the mic a little?
Yeah, sorry. Is that better?
A little bit. Sorry.
I'm not sure I can get any closer.
Much better. That's much better.
Do you mind if I ask either Planner Wolf or our city attorney about that? Because my understanding from the staff report is that proportionality is something that is required, or I don't know what the level is exactly under state law.
If you could do that for me, that'd be great.
Yes, Councilmember, so the language in our ordinance right now reflects what's in state law, and the way it reads is a dwelling unit of 750 square feet or more, it says may be charged proportionately in relation to square footage of the primary dwelling unit. So we could choose not to charge, but we can't charge something more than the proportionate, in proportion to the primary dwelling.
So in the example that Councilmember Garcia brought up, we could require a lower fee so that we didn't have this inequity where a 800 square foot ADU is being charged the same as a full single-family home. But on the flip side, we couldn't increase, in the example given where the 5,500 square foot home has an ADU and it reduces the fee commensurately.
Correct.
Thank you.
And I had the exact same experience when I was reading through the different examples, is that it just seems so inequitable, and it didn't seem to encourage the idea that we do want to have smaller ADUs being built, and here is a smaller ADU. It just happens to be that their existing home is also smaller, and if it's allowed on the lot, why are we charging $75,539 when a large house is adding another existing large ADU for only $37,000? So I agree with that. I really do actually like the second option of charging a fee for ADUs under certain circumstances, where we either excuse the first ADU from the fee charge or make it a limited charge, and then the adding two or more then is the larger charges. I like scaling it that way.
Can I ask a foundational question? I don't know if we're just jumping in this because we assume that the answer to this is yes from everyone, but do we want to start with, do we agree with the proposition that we should be changing this policy and charging at all? I'll say that I am in favor of some modification of that. I do think that there is an impact, especially if we're can have up to 4 of these on each individual lot, I do think that there is real impact to the city and the services that we provide that should be shared by folks who live in ADUs, just like folks who live in other types of dwellings. So I will say that I'm in favor of that, but I just want to make sure that we're all kind of on that page before we actually jump into what and how we should charge.
I'm on that same
And
page.
I'm in agreement with Councilmember Krebs, because as these things become more and more common, obviously there's going to be an impact to the city. So we need to prepare for that. But yeah, I'm in agreement. That's something, but I'm not sure exactly what yet.
Well, I would just say that I agree with all of you, except that we can only go so high, or we're going to disincentivize the construction of these ADUs altogether. So I think we don't want to discourage ADU building. I think our policy right now is designed to encourage it, correct? So every time we add a fee, particularly thousands of dollars, we're going to disincentivize some people. So I would say let's be, judicious about this.
Yeah, I think that's a really, I agree with Councilmember Krebs and Mayor Lowe and Councilmember Garcia about that we need to charge some fee, and I really appreciate Councilmember Goss's point and agree with it, that we shouldn't make it too high, because it will disincentivize, and this is a big and important part of meeting our arena numbers. And so I don't want to, I want to balance everything. I don't want to shoot ourselves in the foot and not be able to generate some revenue, while at the same time, I don't want to make our arena numbers even more difficult than they already are.
And exactly, I'm agreeing. And when you asked the question about the multifamily residents, my immediate thought went to a property that changed from a single family to a multifamily a long time ago, before we even thought of ADUs, probably 25, 30 years ago. And then now that property is a duplex, it's a multifamily, and now building other ADUs on that property have become, a lot. And so without charging any money for, say, if you're building 3 to 4 ADUs on your property, and then we don't have any impact fees, I think that's a disservice to our other residents and the taxes we're already paying. We're basically paying for that impact amongst everyone else instead of where it should be placed. So that's why I kind of was leaning towards the changing the fees more than 1, if not 2. I'm not set on that at all.
What are you proposing specifically?
So I like number 2 for the facilities fees, where it says change the fees for ADUs under certain circumstances, such as for ADUs subsequent to the first. So basically the first ADU, regardless of the size, we're not charging impact fees. Anything past that, we could. The second option on that item would be for applications proposing 2 or more ADUs on a lot with no ADUs. The first ADU shall be smallest amongst that proposed. So I would almost be leaning towards the first ADU, either very low fees or none. I'm not sure. I'm not set on that. But then anything after that.
Yeah, I like that too.
I'd also like to maybe consider the size too, because at what point does an ADU really just become a slightly smaller? I mean, we have plenty of single-family homes in this town that probably under some of these square footage would, on a look like an ADU. And so I do think that we don't want to encourage 1,800 square foot ADUs, which really is just a way to get around paying impact fees for a single-family home that just happens to be on the same property as another house. So I think I do like the idea of the point that Planner Wolf made, which I thought was very clever, is that there is an incentivizing aspect of the fee, in that if you have no fee for 750 and below, it does actually encourage slightly smaller. Like if you're planning on building a 900 square foot ADU, you're probably just going to build a 750 one because you can avoid any fee. And isn't that maybe something we should be encouraging based on the equities of having that actually be more affordable? I just want to say to Councilmember Parker's point, I obviously also was thinking very much about our RENA numbers and how any ADU, regardless of size, regardless of actually being rented out or at what rate, counts as a low-income housing, and that is great for the administrative aspect of that, and I am cognizant of that, but I also am realistic in that it is not, in this town, our ADUs are not actually low-income housing. I mean, most of them, I think, are not being rented out, and if they are, I highly doubt that they're not being rented out at market rates that exceed low-income housing. So I just want to make sure that, we're not really doing this in a way that's going to generate actual low-income housing. I mean, maybe in some instances and maybe at some point in time, but I would have to guess that we're not actually generating a lot of low-income housing that's, people are actually renting at those rates.
That's a really good point. My thought was more of the overall RENA numbers versus the categories. So
Right.
you're spot on the categories, right? We're not going to get in those lower categories, but at least we're showing some effort of creating a little bit of density in our town. And to me, I'm hoping that buys us a little bit of goodwill and it doesn't get more stringent.
No, to be fair, RENA actually does categorize these as low income, but even if they're not technically low income. So we do actually get credit for low income housing every time an ADU is built, which is great for RENA, right?
Right.
Like, but to me, just as a policy maker, like I don't
I see what
care
you're saying.
about qualifying our RENA numbers. I would care more about actually having legitimate lower, more affordable housing for people. But so I just don't want us to pretend that we're considering this based on the fact that these ADUs are in fact providing more affordable housing for people here in
Fair
Sierra
point.
Madre.
No.
I like the idea of the disincentivizing the larger ones.
Yeah,
We want them for RENA numbers, but we don't really want a lot of larger ones.
So is there a point at which, we've got a floor, right? Anything that's 750 or lower does not get charged the impact fees. Is there a cap? Is there a level at which we say, I think to some of the discussion, some of the point, you're getting around fees if you're building I don't know what the size is, a 1,500 or a 2,000 square foot ADU on a large lot.
And correct me if I'm wrong, so the residential impact fee, these are relative to the residential impact fees already in state, correct? So for instance, if someone did want to build a 20 or 1,200 square foot ADU, they should probably pay, because it's going to be pretty much the same as it's another house. Not, I mean, my opinion
Yeah,
is
and that was going to be, for council member, yeah, this discussion was what I was thinking as well. And I don't know, I think we have to talk to the city attorney regarding where we can look at that schedule if we can change it from 750 to something else, because 1,200, I think 1,200 square foot is the largest dwelling that still can be considered an ADU. And honestly, that's barely bigger than barely smaller than my current house or where we live, right? So I don't know if we could look at the median dwelling size of a home in Sierra Madre. I don't know if that's data that's readily available, and we can pick a percentage of that number, and if that could be the line where we say, okay, anything above this is going to be charged a pro rata impact fee. If we even have the capacity to do that, I think that would be something that would make sense.
That Councilmember Garcia, that's exactly what I was thinking. Was using the city average.
It is weird to me that the state law is based on, it's almost like perverse, right? Because the bigger the house you have already, the lower your fee is for putting an ADU, which is an odd, to me, it's an odd formula because why should it matter how big the existing house is to then, and it seems like it almost should be reversed, right? Like there's sort of a presumption that if you own an 8,000 square foot house, you could probably afford to pay a fee, right? Versus limiting it because you have a small house. I mean, it's an odd, and I know there's no way around it because we have to, comply with the state law, but if there's a way to mitigate it in a way that makes it fairer for our town, like Councilmember Garcia proposed, I'd be in favor of that.
Speaking of perverse, 4 ADUs on one lot. So you could ask, what were they thinking when they wrote this law? But yeah.
That's why I
Totally
agree with
agree.
making those fees. I don't mind if those fees are astronomical if you're putting 4 ADUs, because 4 ADUs is astronomical in my opinion. So I don't mind
Is it?
charging you 70, what is it, what's the max there that was stated?
I can tell you that when I brought this up at home, my husband said, wow, should we think about splitting our lot and putting on 480U? I was like, see, this is why we should be, and he was joking,
Yeah.
but only a little bit.
Yeah. All right, so,
Mayor, if I may,
yes, please.
I just had one clarifying point on the option 2 to charge the fees for ADUs under certain circumstances. The bullet points under there, it was really hard to format this and not make the text too small, but the second bullet point where it says for applications proposing 2 or more, et cetera, that was kind of a stipulation to the bullet point above that. It's kind of like a catch to the loophole.
Oh, right. Got it. Yeah. I picked that up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
But presumably that option number 2, charging the fees under certain circumstances, you weren't necessarily saying that these were the only circumstances under which we could do that. I mean, the circumstances that Councilmember Garcia proposed would be that similar approach, just different circumstances, right? I think you were just saying that there's kind of the all or nothing, but then this is sort of the in-between, and this criteria could be whatever makes sense.
That is absolutely correct, and the city council can come up with other solutions if they find one better than this.
Do you happen to know the average size of a home in Sierra Madre?
Unfortunately,
Off the top of your head?
oh yes, I do. No, I don't. But I think it may be of value. That ADU study I did had an average of the proportional size relationship between ADUs and primary dwelling units. And while that's kind of vast, because it goes as low as 8% and up to 127%, the average is actually only 40%. And so that can be a value at which you can look at as a cap.
And that's in the report. I seem to remember. Yeah, there it is. It's just below.
Page 13.
And we might want to look at the median rather than the mean on this one. Maybe if we could report both, because there could be some houses that could seriously skew that average number upward.
The median,
if
Councilmember
you-
Garcia, is 33.8, just FYI.
No, well, I'm talking about if we have the median of a primary dwelling.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sorry, that was the median
The
of
median
the
size.
relative size.
The relative size, yeah.
So if we put the limitation, we already have under 750 square feet, it's no fee, it's great. Should we put then a limit on the fee we would charge over that? So like, for instance, if the first ADU is over 1,200, 1,000 square feet, do we want to add fees, or is it any first one is fine?
I don't mind having a fee for the first one. I don't know that it because of the fact that the ADUs that have been built since we, enacted this law, most of which wouldn't even have garnered a fee.
Yeah.
Most of them are small. I'm not, obviously we don't know for sure because we don't know what behavior will be after there is a fee, but my sense is it's not going to meaningfully change behavior except for maybe where we want to meaningfully change it, and so that we don't have I don't know how 127% ADU of the house. Obviously, I don't know what size the house was, but if it was a 2,000 square foot house, I really don't want a, whatever that is. Sorry, I can't do the math in my head. But so I think that I'm fine actually having some. I like the idea in the staff report of considering charging at the multifamily level, because I do feel like that accounts for the fact that while probably 6 or more people could live in my house, if I built an ADU, it's unlikely that more than a couple would. And so that, to me, that captures, like the per unit of a multifamily sort of, to me, captures the residents that are likely to be in an ADU, then that's the impact, right? It's not the building itself, it's the people living in the building that's going to impact our services or, take our services. So I liked that idea because it made sense to me that ADUs are kind of more like apartments than they are like, well, at least smaller ones are more like apartments than single-family homes.
I agree.
I agree with that too.
Okay, any other suggestions? You look like you're
So,
pondering.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure I'm tracking with you, Councilmember Krebs. So you're saying that at what point would you throw an ADU into a multifamily? Is it at are you throwing them all into you're throwing them all into multifamily?
Yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
I sort of answered a question and then brought up a different point. But yes, I would be fine charging a fee for any ADU over, over the 750. But if I were to decide which fee to base it off I would base it off of the multifamily
Got it.
rate or fee or whatever we're calling it.
Agreed, versus the single family, which seems a little large.
Yeah.
But for those subsequent ADUs built after that, I'm fine with charging.
Oh, interesting.
You know, I'm just saying, because in my mind, if you're putting that many ADUs, it's for profit at that point. Well, maybe not, I guess if you're building homes for your whole family and you have little lodges for grandma and grandpa, maybe not. But then those could be under 750 square feet. So if you're building, 800, 900 square foot houses and you've got 2, 3 on a lot,
Interesting. I hadn't thought of that.
you're going to be doing this for profit, I'm guessing.
We're able to do that as long as we keep the proportionality, right? Like
Lower
we
than.
could
We
have
can't
higher
charge more.
fees for subsequent.
But remember, the state has taken upon themselves to say that we should have potentially much more dense neighborhoods than we are comfortable with. I don't think we could get a 4 ADU ordinance passed here. So I think we ought to do what we can to I like your idea of
Charge.
disincentivize the second, third, and fourth. I mean, so if somebody wants to do it, they can, but we should
But
certainly
you have to
not,
pay for that.
we should certainly not
Impact that'll be
subsidize
on
them.
us.
So
The first one, I would say, okay, let's, in the keeping with the spirit of the law, we also need RENA numbers. We want to help our property owners do something reasonable for their own benefit.
So I'm looking at the fees, the single family versus the multifamily, and where there are the biggest differences are on the water and sewer, right? I mean, there's a little bit on the Quimby. I think it's the Quimby. It's hard to go across the pages there, but when you get to water, it is $7,500 for a multifamily and $18,000 for a single family, and $5,000 and $20,000 respectively for sewers. So, I mean, that maybe help to guide us, because all the other ones are much closer in scale, but it's the water and sewer. And so I guess you've got
I just have a question about that, I guess, for staff is.
That's exactly where I was going.
So then yes, ask your question, because it might be the same.
So why is it fourfold a cost for sewer for multifamily and almost threefold cost for a single family for water?
Councilmember, I suspect it has to do with the infrastructure in place. So a single-family home has just one lateral going to the private home, whereas if it's a multifamily, it's still just one lateral that serves multiple units in the structure. But this is a question for our Director of Public Works. Does an ADU share the same lateral, or does the ADU have a separate connection to the main for water and sewer? I think they share, but it's worth confirming.
Well, and the other question I had was, don't we actually, I mean, to the extent that they don't share, we charge a connection fee and a meter fee from the water department and from the sewer department, and then we charge obviously for
More for
actual water and actual sewer. So I guess what these impact fees go to must be something different than, obviously the water itself or the connection. I mean, maybe it's just the maintenance of the actual existing infrastructure, because if you had to put in a new water line to service a, ADU laden street, it would obviously cost quite a lot. And so, $18,000 a home probably wouldn't even cover it.
Well, I'm guessing the normal fees that we already charge for building are part of what it takes for the infrastructure to handle what's existing. If we're adding more of an impact by having multiple residents move in, that's actually going to be much more of an impact and wear and tear on the existing system.
Maybe.
And have to upgrade faster, have to look at improvements quicker.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I suspect that the facility use fee is versus obviously we actually charge for hooking up to the sewer and the water separately.
Just a clarification on that, though. If they're doing a conversion, you don't charge them, or we don't charge them. And if it's only for a new build ADU, and again, I'd have to check the statute, but I think it's a new build that's constructed alongside a new primary dwelling is only when we charge connection fees.
Oh,
So I know it's not that we don't charge them during conversions for sure.
right.
So there's a lot of ways that ADUs will escape connection charges.
Okay. Well, that's helpful. Thank
So
you.
that's what this is. This 18,000, 20,000 are connection charges.
No.
Well, no, but we're not, this chart is not ADUs. This chart is actual single-family and multifamily. So my question is, like, if I built a brand-new house, you know, what are the water and sewer allocations of the facility fees going towards if I'm also having to pay a connection fee to the water system, a connection fee to the sewer, and then obviously paying for the water and the sewer service itself?
My question is very similar to that, is that we had the table up earlier of the different categories, and I think that's what you're asking.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, well, there's the table on the staff report, and then there was the table in the presentation, and the presentation had where the fees could go to, and I was trying to figure out, are they a one-to-one?
It's the
both
same,
do.
it's
They
the
both
same, it's
do.
the same chart in the staff report.
It's the same chart.
There's a chart in the staff report as well.
No. So I'm looking at
Yes.
the second to last slide in the presentation of the fiscal impact of where the fees could go. I don't know if it's the same thing, and it has the account numbers. Nope, keep going.
He's looking at the account numbers.
Oh, the
I'm
We're looking
looking
at the
accounts
amounts.
numbers. I understand the amounts, but then does all of the money from from each of those categories go to that category?
I don't know what that
That's
means.
It
what
does.
we asked
Okay,
that-
it
we asked
does
that
go
in
to
the
that
first
category. I
questions.
just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think, Director Dickinson, do you want to speak?
I'm not up to stuff on all that stuff, but by the proportional amount higher for like multifamily and single family, because you have a higher capacity and more demand, and multifamily is putting more of a strain and demand on both the water and the sewer system. So that's why you would have those higher amounts.
And an
But
AD.
actually, it's the opposite, though.
Right.
The single family, but it's per unit. That's the difference. It's per unit. And so on multifamily, you're gonna multiply that 5,100 for sewer by at least 2 or 3 because
Yeah,
it's gonna be per unit. So that's the difference.
That makes sense.
If a new ADU is built, does it depend on the size, whether it attaches to the main on its own line, or does it always go through the same as the current resident structure?
I would defer to planning, or James, do you know that? Because some of that's too is also going to be hinging on fire code. If the ADU has fire sprinklers in their sizes
Oh.
and their existing service going into the primary existing residential unit, can't handle that flow capacity. So it's all volume-based, flow-based, not necessarily pressure, it's volume and flow-based. So then it may have, you'd have to, because now you're going from, you can't even just go a higher size to the house because you're still going through all the piping inside the house. You may go from a 1 inch to an 1.5 inch or 2 inch, but now you're still limited to 3/4 inch in the house that it's going through to begin with.
And I was told when we were considering an ADU that on the sewer side, it depends on, in some instances, the location of the ADU as compared to where the sewer line is for the main house. Because in my lot, the ADU would be lower, and so that we'd actually need a pump to pump up from the ADU to the main line. And so it would actually probably be cheaper and better if it just had its own. So I think it's very dependent on
Got it.
the
Okay.
nature of the
Okay,
project.
so that wouldn't be in regards, thank you so much.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
if I may add, part of it also maybe, at least on the water side, there's something in the Nexus study where they come up with some methodology for future purchase of replacement water due to increased demand, and so you're prepaying for all of that in the impact fee. I would also add, based off of the report, the Nexus study is almost 20 years old. So, within the next couple of years, even, we have to do it by state law, but within the next couple of years, we should probably take a look at this, and that might change some of these numbers moving forward.
Okay, so my question then for council is, if we exclude the 750, of course, like we're supposed to, like we have state, and then we allow for fees with the first residents, if we have 180 and we're doing fees, do you have a problem with the current formula that's being used, where, like Councilmember Garcia had stated, if we had, a very small house and they're building another very small ADU, you're going to pay up to $72,000
Or 36.
or
under.
36, even $36,000,
Right.
just for, you'd probably build it under 750, but let's say they do want to do that. It seems like the formula isn't, to me, relative and equitable. So would we be okay with not following the state formula in that sense for the first ADU?
Well, I think we have to follow the formula and then reduce, like we
That's
can't
what I
charge
mean.
more.
It can be less, but I don't want, I
Yeah,
don't
I just
think.
don't
the-
know how to
Me either.
express that in a code section or in a fee
Yeah,
schedule.
well,
Me
I agree
either.
with what you're getting at.
So I mean, I think to the extent that we're giving guidance, I think that's guidance we
Okay.
can give, and I would hope that, there could be proposals about how to achieve the equitable result that Councilmember Garcia was concerned about.
Yeah, and one thought, and I don't know if this works or not, because it's not my area of expertise, so I defer to the folks in the room that understand this more than me. But if the goal is to incentivize production of affordable housing, additional housing to meet our RHNA goals and all of that, if the council's interested in preserving sort of the philosophy that you have or have been discussing, the first one could be you assess it at the full value, but then you apply some sort of discount to it. A 50% discount, 75% discount based off of the relative value of the ADU. But then every subsequent ADU after that, if you're trying to disincentivize more production, you charge a higher tier or up to 100% of that value.
I like that.
That would be easier to draft.
Yes,
Yeah,
I was
mean,
trying to.
I'm thinking, and it wouldn't directly address, like, on an individual basis, Councilmember Garcia's point, but it would roundabout get to the same thing, because we would be providing that discount.
Well, and I do think it would be, well,
It wouldn't scale, is all I'm saying.
Yeah,
is
no,
it wouldn't
okay,
apply
yeah.
to only in situations where the house, the main dwelling unit is small. It would apply across the board, but it would have the same effect on the smaller units. It would have a lower rate.
yeah. I'm trying to wrap my head around whether or not it would actually be equitable or not on that.
I mean, it wouldn't be equitable in the sense that the fee at the lower end would still be, relatively the
higher.
same to
Yeah.
to larger houses, but it would be a lower fee in general. So
Yeah.
that's sort of what I was getting at.
So along those lines, the first ADU could be free or 50% of the value. And then every subsequent ADU could be, 70%, 80%, up to 100, or wherever you want to draw the line on the impact, basically, of the additional
That's
ADU.
exactly why I think the purpose of what we're expressing is because if you are using these as rental properties, is which many people will be, then you're paying for that within the idea that you're going to be making profit, and versus trying to just add a small ADU to your lot and then maybe adding more. But I agree that I don't want I'd rather disincentivize it, but I think the formula that you're speaking of is way easier to understand too for residents than
I
that
mean,
state one.
effectively, if we were going to charge the single-family rate for, or some percentage of it for 2, 3, and 4, effectively charging the multifamily rate for the first one is about a 50% deduction. So I guess the question is, do we want to start with multifamily for number one and discount from there? Or are we talking about using the single-family and discounting? So we just, so that we can give specific guidance.
I mean, to me, that's where I've been thinking myself is that all of these are technically multifamily, right? You're building another unit on the property. So I have a little bit of an issue of using the single-family rate for a second housing unit on a parcel.
Well, that would be the third, I think. I think
Yeah, we're talking about
what
the
we're
third.
talking about is giving the first ADU preferential fee
Rates.
treatment and then perhaps disincentivizing 3 and 4 with a higher rate.
And what I'm saying is even with number 2 or the first additional unit on it, there's part of me that says that we should be in multifamily because it truly is multifamily. You are not putting a new housing unit on the same parcel. You are adding another unit. So there's something that doesn't track with me of charging the single family to put a second housing unit or a second dwelling on a parcel.
So Robert, I can say it this way, is that we are looking at families seem to be moving more towards multi-generations, and a lot of ADUs are built for seniors and for parents and families to stay on one location. So while it might be multifamily, it's still a single-family resident with a grandma residents in the back, or also with looking at, I like addressing it with the property value, like what the value of an additional unit might be, because if you are adding in a rental unit, not everyone's adding rental for pure profit. A lot of people are adding the rental just to be able to pay for the homes themselves in our Los Angeles County, especially Sierra Madre, so.
No,
To clarify, I don't think the city manager was suggesting that we use the property value or the value, like the actual market value of, I think he meant value
Yes.
in the sense of.
I meant in terms of like what it's being used for, like how you're gonna be making money off of it or not.
Yeah,
Right,
I
but-
mean,
I don't, yeah.
two things of that. I don't think that we need to get in, we can or should get into the
No.
business of that. And frankly, this is going to be a law that's going to exist for decades. And what I use it today for may not be what the person I sell my house uses it for. So I don't think we can do it on the basis of use of the ADU.
No,
My viewpoint on it is multifamily is, as I'm looking at it from a very broad perspective. I hear where you're coming from, where it could be a kid coming home from a college, or it could be a parent or a grandparent that's living there. To me, that the concept is still the same. It is beyond your nuclear unit, right? It is beyond the typical family unit that you've got. And you can say it, if you've got a kid coming back from college, that they would be living in the same unit and not in a separate unit. But to me, it's I don't know.
Maybe
you
I'm
may
not
disagree.
understanding you right, because from what I've heard you just say prior to your statement was that you're now moving towards the first ADU not being incentivized, but rather decentivizing.
No.
Okay, because what I've heard you say
No,
is
so what
charging the
I'm
regular
saying-
rates when we all said, no,
Oh,
we
gosh,
would
no.
like to incentivize.
No.
Okay,
What I'm saying is that the whole fee, that I don't think we should start the fee rates at the single family rate. You're putting another dwelling unit on a property. The infrastructure requirement, the infrastructure connection is not fundamentally the same. You're not putting a brand new pipe that's having to go on the land to connect a building. That's where I'm at. It is independent of the discounting of it. I agree with the
So
discounting.
you accept a
I'm
lower
comfortable.
fee on the
got it.
first
You
unit?
accept the lower fee.
I accept a lower fee on the first unit,
Okay.
and I think that
Okay.
the basis of the fee should be based on multifamily.
Got it.
So why do we go right up to single family if we're putting a second dwelling unit on the property? It is not the same as building a new dwelling on a parcel. And so I completely agree and support the discounting of the first unit and the second unit, but I think all of the assessment should be based off of the multifamily rate structure and not the single family.
Even for ADU
Even
number
for-
3 and ADU number 4?
Yes. Well, so when we start doing,
And ADU number 4, I'm okay charging them $75,000
okay.
because it's ADU
I
number 4.
kind of feel like we should do something to kind of disincentivize
That's
that.
what
I
I'm
mean,
saying, so go ahead and charge them the
mean,
75,000.
I don't
because
want four
don't want number
ADUs
4 on there either.
You're next door to me. I don't know about you guys, but
Yeah, I agree.
I-
That was my,
So I'm hearing this conversation and I'm agreeing with kind of everybody, even though it sounds like some are a little bit opposed, but there are some single family within multifamily zoning, and I don't know if we could apply zoning. So if it is already a multi or high occupancy zoning, does it make sense to disincentivize that fourth ADU? Probably not, but in R1, probably. So I don't know how, again, that makes things more complex, but I don't know if that's a conversation where we want to have, and if the city attorney, if that's something we can do under the current law.
What is the ADU, what are the ADU allowances on existing multifamily? Is it a different construct or is it the same construct no matter how it's zoned?
Same construct, no matter how it's zoned. And I think some of the discussion is around the sewer and water infrastructure contemplates a detached ADU, but I just want to raise the point that some ADUs won't require any new infrastructure because they're going to be part of the existing home. So JADUs are part of the existing home. If you're doing a conversion of an ADU of an existing room, that's part of the existing home, right? So you could have maybe like up to 150 feet of an addition to accommodate that new ADU, but it's basically just the same home without any new infrastructure.
And so when someone creates a JADU, right now, they would get assessed what fee? Just the, so they
Just the permit fee.
Okay.
You mean
Any
currently? 'Cause
ADU
we don't,
right
we don't
now.
have any ADU fees
We don't
right
have
now.
any ADU fees at all,
Okay.
But
even if you
under
had
state
4.
law, to your point, even under state law, because a JADU is a max 500 feet, so you couldn't charge them the public facility fee. You couldn't charge them a connection fee because ADUs are just
Right.
really just conversions of existing rooms often. And all you'd be charging them is a permit fee.
So we're not allowed, we wouldn't be allowed on an attached ADU, whether it's an ADU or JADU, to charge an additional impact fee, is what you're telling us.
No.
Under 750 square feet, you cannot.
Right.
After that, you
But,
can't.
but, so if you're putting an extension onto the house and you're calling it an ADU, so yeah, I guess the two different scenarios, if you're putting an extension on the house, let's forget all this ADU stuff, put an extension on the house, what's the fee structure on it?
What do you mean by extension?
A
You're
remodel.
gonna add a
If
room.
you're adding a room to
Oh,
your
in
existing
addition.
house.
Yeah, addition.
I'll turn it to staff.
Oh, thank you for the question. If you're adding just an extension, it's not a new unit, so it would not constitute, or there would be no public facility fee applicable in that case because there's an existing unit and it's receiving an addition. It's still one single unit and it basically gets the credit of its existing single unit use. I do want to clarify though that the structure for multifamily context does allow, state law allows up to 8 ADUs on a multifamily property as conversion from existing non-habitable space within the multifamily building. Or actually, I'm sorry, that's 8 detached ADUs as long as there are up to 8 existing units in that
I
multifamily
forgot
property.
about that. I remembered reading that.
So if there is.
Zoned
an-
for that, it's not a problem.
Right, yeah.
So if there's an ADU, an attached ADU that's being added, there's no guidance from the state of what the fee is to assess that, is that correct?
There is guidance if it's more than 750 square feet, whether it's attached, detached, or converted.
But an attached ADU wouldn't have a connection fee, correct? Because it's part of the home, so there wouldn't be an additional.
That's where I'm going.
There wouldn't be it's under no circumstance could there be a connection fee for that, I would assume.
Not a connection fee, but perhaps an impact fee.
Right. And what impact
And
fees?
this table is an
Unless you needed to upgrade your meter, right? Because if you're
Yeah.
adding something enough to,
Your water,
you would need a larger
Right.
meter, and then you'd have to pay for the, whatever fee that is to upgrade to a larger meter.
And there's a fee structure for that as well.
Okay, so that's not the fee structure that's in here.
Those are impact fees.
So this is impact fee, so if someone was to add an attached ADU that's more than 750 square feet, and it's a single-family home, it would be $75,000 for that ADU.
And yes, and adjusted for the proportional difference between the ADU and the primary
Oh,
home.
so state law says, oh, yeah, that's right. The state law says the max it can be is the proportional, that's right, okay. So, and we can go less than that.
If the additional ADU was 100% of the existing home size, then it would be the same.
Yeah.
all right. Do we want to give this to city staff for more guidance to come forward with the actual formulas? Do we have to, because I don't think we can do just another reading. We have,
Oh, yeah, there's nothing, I
No,
think, we're not actually
is-
We're not.
considering an actual.
you're going to come back, correct?
Can I ask a procedural question? Would this go through the planning commission first, or is it because it's fees, we have to do that?
This would not go through the planning commission, but we do have to make sure that if there's an amendment that is going to change the fee structure, that amendment be reflected in the ordinance before you. So I don't think this is going to require another first reading. I think we'll be okay. But in short, whatever edit we propose with respect to the fees also needs to be reflected in the ordinance itself when it comes back for second reading. And the resolution regarding fees is going to require a separate notice public hearing, probably wrapped up in the budget process.
Okay.
Okay.
For a second reading, is there a time basis on the second reading? Can it be, because I'm just thinking about, there's a lot that we've been discussing here, and typically we do the first reading at one meeting and then in the subsequent meeting, but I'm not sure that that gives staff enough time to take into account and write up the options for us.
Yeah, we can, there is a limit on how closely the first and second can be read, but no limit on how many days in between greater than 5.
Okay.
So they'll come back to us when they have it ready. All right, do you have enough guidance?
Percentages.
No?
No.
Okay. So let's see if we can state this.
Well, I think when we went around the table, I think everybody nodded when you came up with your percentage idea.
But what's
The only
what's
question was what we were
percentage?
going to do with the very first one, right?
Yeah, with the very first, I think, looking at the statistics that we have in the report, is that the average and the median are less than 750,000 square feet. So, on average, we're not disincentivizing by having any kind of fee on that first one. So I'm in favor of having a fee on the first one, but maybe a smaller proportion, as we talked about.
I say 50%?
Yeah, whatever is easier. I mean, either use multifamily, or are you saying 50% of multifamily?
I was.
Yes.
But I'm okay. I'm not set on that.
Yeah.
I'd keep it low on the first one.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay. So 50% of the multifamily for the first ADU, every subsequent second and third ADU. I'm okay with, I don't know about you guys, I'm okay using the single family, if it's a single family home, at a discounted rate of 75% for the second ADU, and then no discount for the third. The final.
And just to clarify, when we're talking about 50%, 75%, we're saying 50% of the pro rata share. Run the formula on the multifamily, and then it's 50% of what the formula gives us. Is that what we're saying?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, but I said for the third and the fourth ADU, I said the percentage of the single family. Because if you're actually getting a third and fourth ADU on a single family residence, I'm okay charging them the maximum, higher amounts. Is that okay?
For me, I still go back to zoning map,
Okay.
and if it's R1, yes, absolutely. But if it's not, we want there's certain places that have higher density, right?
I would
but not
modify
R1.
this. Ed, I'd modify this for R1 for you. That's fine.
Yeah, I would do that too, because actually, I don't have much agita about 8 extra units on an existing 8-unit apartment complex, because frankly, that's where we should have density.
Right.
I would prefer that if we're going to do a breakdown of single family in the single family zone and the multifamily in the multifamily zone, we stay with those fee schedules rather than do multifamily for the first one and then switch to single family. I think that gets really confusing, and I think future people will have a hard time tracking it. So if we're going to stay in multifamily zoned areas at the multifamily schedule, then we should, and we do a single family for 2, 3, and 4 of a unit, we should start with the single family and just discount higher. I think that's a cleaner way of going forward than switching back and forth between multifamily and single family impact fees.
Are we going to actually reference single family and multifamily fees, or are we just going to have a fee number? Like, are we just going to say $36,879? Or are we going to reference in this?
We're going to reference this document because this document is supported by the Nexus study.
No, I'm saying when we write this code, when we write this in the code for purposes of ADU, are we going to say we're going to charge it at the quote multifamily rate, or are we going to say we're charging $36,879? Like, are we going to reference it by reference to the name of it or to the actual amount of it?
Yeah,
You're going to charge it to the rate because these are different buckets with different costs. So we
we're
can't
just
just
gonna tell them what
charge the
we're charging
rate
them.
or the total amount. We'd have to apply.
We're just telling them what we're charging them.
That's not what he just said.
So we would have to tie it to the actual.
Yeah, because these total numbers are based
And that
off
rate
of some
changes,
mathematical.
not just with the new
formula.
Nexus study.
Right.
Got it.
So here's my reason for not doing it that way, Robert, or Councilmember Parkhurst, is because that still to me is de-incentivizing the first the first one. So if we're staying with single family and we're doing 50%, that's the same as a multifamily, which to me is still too expensive.
Right,
But but I think that if we stayed with multifamily the whole way along, that's not enough. It's not charging them enough.
Right, so then stay with single family, first unit, discount 75%.
Oh.
So stay it
Yeah,
that way.
mathematically, we could get to the same.
Okay.
That way you're staying, you're not switching back and forth from
Okay.
multifamily, single family. I think that is a recipe for confusion in the future. So if
Okay,
we're
so
gonna do.
discounting 75% for the first one, 25%.
Does that get you at the same number you had had at 50% of multifamily?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'd have to
it's-
run
it's
the
like
numbers.
I think
50
it's still a little
it's-
higher, isn't it?
No, it's like
No,
50,
it doesn't.
it's 50% of 50%, so.
Because that's only the total, I guess.
We shouldn't do math,
I
so I
know.
think I think they understand the,
I think the intent is to charge 25% of the fee, right? It's a 75% discount. You're
Right.
charging 25% of
But,
the
but,
fixed.
is
in
it,
the
but,
first
it,
one.
but, it, but it's based on the proportionality of the unit, so it's
Correct.
going to be a percentage of a percentage.
Correct,
Sorry,
correct.
I'm laughing too.
At the multifamily rate for the first unit.
no, we're moving to
Single
single.
family
We're just
rate.
gonna do
It
single family,
depends
just
on
to
the
make
zone.
it
we just
simple.
wanna make sure.
Depends on the zone. That's what I heard.
Well,
that
let's
So-
put a pin in that for a minute, and so for single, sorry,
Family.
for single family
ADUs.
ADUs. Sorry, that's not putting a pin on it, never mind, sorry, go ahead.
So let me
So-
try to see if it's single-family ADUs, we'll use that rate. The first ADU is 25% of the fee. The third ADU charged 75% of the fee. The fourth ADU charged the full amount.
But you don't mean fourth ADU, you mean fourth dwelling, like third ADU.
Sorry, fourth dwelling, thank you very much.
Okay.
And then the
But,
fees
and that's
are
for
based on-
R1.
R1.
Yeah, so it's based on the zone it's in. So
Right.
if you're in an R1 zone, or if you're in a multifamily zone, you go to the fee schedule.
Okay.
Here's a question, because we should make it more complicated. There are zones between R1 and full-on, like apartment
Several.
complex, several, like R3. Multifamily, yeah.
Anything outside the R1 is treated like a multifamily.
Oh, okay,
Okay.
all right. I'm not going to get into parsing R3 versus
Yeah,
R,
no.
R12.
But it is multifamily.
Yeah. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Are you good? Yes. Okay.
And so this is just guidance, so you'll come back with a separate resolution to codify this? Okay, thank you.
All right. Moving out of public hearing towards the consent calendar.
Can we get a motion on that, though? And a vote, please?
I didn't know we make a motion. Okay, can I hear a motion?
I move to change the fee schedule with respect to the ADU development to allow for development in the R1 zone to charge a fee using the single-family rate, with the first ADU being at 75%, the second ADU being at discounted, yes, at 75%, and then anything above that being the full fee proportionate to the existing dwelling. And that for the non-R1 zones, we would just apply the multifamily rate beginning to end.
And so what's the first
I think
ADU?
it's a second, I think it's a second before we
Second.
discuss. Thank you. Sorry, now.
Okay. So the first unit is at 75, the second unit is at what discount?
25?
Because I heard 75 was the second unit.
Oh,
I'm
you're
trying
right,
to make sure
sorry.
I'm
So the
clear. So
first
is it-
ADU,
I thought it was 75, 50.
no. First ADU was 75%, the second ADU would be 25% discount, and the last ADU would be full price.
I'm fine with that friendly amendment. Do we need to second the
Second.
amendment?
I
No,
think we need
second.
to amend it.
Yes.
So you second?
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Yes. All right, moving on to our consent calendar. Madam City Clerk Aguilar, could you please read the consent calendar by title only?
Thank you. I need to uncross my eyes for a second. That's a lot. Okay, the city council is being asked to consider a number of consent calendar items this evening. The first is A, approval of city council meeting minutes from the April 28, 2026 city council meeting. Consent item B is resolution 26-34, approving certain demands for payment. Consent item C is quarterly treasurer's report for the quarter ending March 31st, 2026. Staff recommends that the city council receive and file the report. Consent item D is resolution 26-35, authorizing a supplemental budget appropriation from the general fund reserve in the amount of $50,000 for payment to emergency planning consultants. And it is staff's recommendation that the city council approve the appropriation. Moving on to consent item E is resolution 26-36. This is authorizing a supplemental budget appropriation from the sewer fund and sewer development impact fee fund and approval of purchase order with municipal maintenance equipment for the acquisition of a VACCON sewer jetter truck in an amount of $459,562.54. Staff's recommendation is that the city council approve this budget appropriation. Resolution 26-33 is adopting the standard plans for public works construction. It's a 2021 edition. Staff's recommendation is that the city council approve resolution 26-33. Consent item G is resolution 26-37, approving the Fourth Amendment to Settlement Agreement and release with CETT Investments Corporation. Staff recommends that the city council approve the resolution 26-37. Consent H is the third annual report of the development agreement between the City of Sierra Madre, Toll West Coast, LLC, and the Congregation of the Passion. Staff's recommendation is that the City Council receive and file this report. Consent item I is the First Amendment to the Professional Services Agreement with Kimley Horn and Associates. And staff recommends that the City Council approve the amendment. And lastly is consent item J. It's the fourth amended and restated legal services agreement with Colantuno, Highsmith and Watley, PC. Staff's recommendation is that the City Council approve the amended and restated legal services agreement. Madam Mayor, this concludes my report. Staff is available for any questions.
Thank you. Do I have any questions on consent item A?
Madam Mayor?
Please.
So on the minutes, resolution 2631 didn't state who seconded the motion. My understanding was that was Councilmember Goss had seconded. I propose to amend the minutes to make sure we capture who seconded it.
Noted, thank you.
Questions on consent item B? On C?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
just a quick question. And it just has to do with something that was spent, I think, for the police department. I'm in full support of them having every single tool at their disposal, but I just want to know, because some of them seem kind of expensive. I just want to have an understanding of what it's for. There was a breaching tool and some tactical helmets and tactical equipment, because the police department generally doesn't spend a ton of money. So I just want to know if that's for FSET, or is that new, or is for officers, or is that replacement of old gear? Just want to hear kind of what that was about.
Thank you for that question, Councilmember Garcia. We're trying to track down the chief to give you a full answer as to what we were doing with those funds, whether we were buying new equipment or replacing existing. But I can tell you that the funding source for that was a Homeland Security grant. So it wasn't a general fund.
Great.
It wasn't in the budget. It's likely we were
follow-up question.
probably replacing. It's likely we were probably replacing existing equipment that was dated. But I would refer to the chief with that specific information.
So I'm fine. I'm fine with going forward. I feel that as though you've answered my question, because the other question would be funding. But I'm fine that you've answered my question, and as proxy for chief. That's fine.
All right. Questions on consent item D?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
So I was having a hard time tracking that the contract was entered into in January of 2025. There's no budget item in the current budget, but the current budget is not the budget under which the contract was entered into. So are we saying that there wasn't a budget amount at that time, or is this just a like technical thing that we need to sort of move something that wasn't spent under the prior year into this budget because it's not technically there?
It was not planned in the prior year's budget. This is an item that we have to produce every 5 years in order to be eligible for FEMA reimbursement in case there's a disaster. We moved forward without a budget with the intent of planning for it in the current fiscal year. But when the budget was adopted, that appropriation was absent.
Okay, thank you.
My question was, is this an amount that is set for every city? Is there a scale? Does every city pay $50,000? It says the maximum amount and mentions a fee schedule, but I didn't see a fee schedule attached.
I'll refer to Chief Bartlett on that one.
Thank you.
Thank you and good evening. To answer your question, the fee is not set. It was put out for a bid through email, and the original price was $60,000, and I negotiated that down to $50,000. And so that was a better rate, but it was also with the consultant that did the first version of our local hazard mitigation plan and already had quite the extensive data and information to move forward with the update. So it most likely was going to be at a lesser price than any other consultant.
And this is something that has to be done with a consultant.
Correct.
We can't do it.
Yes, as the city manager stated, every 5 years we must renew this. So moving forward, we will look to mitigate this issue in the future by planning ahead of time to seek funding, hopefully through grants or the like that are out there to pay for this consultant. We won't have to subsidize this or absorb that in the future.
Thank you so much, Chief.
You're welcome.
Questions for item E? F? Item G? Item H? Item I? J? Do I have any public comment for items on the consent?
Madam Mayor, we have one speaker card from Stephen Chen.
Good evening.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Madam Mayors, and member of council members. I'm here to representing my client, which is a property owner for the resolution number 26-37. Instead of requesting for a 2-year extension, I'm here to respectfully request a 5-year extension, if you may. The reason for that is mainly a financial hurdle or hardship to this project. During the last, I would say, almost 7 to 8 years for this project, 3 out of 22 lots had been built and been sold before the COVID, and the 3 was during construction during the COVID, and it has been built last year. And I think the whole thing coming back to all these foreseeing events and natural disaster and all these wars happening right now. It's really unusual, and no one expecting this is happening. Initially, the developer was trying to build this by phases, maybe 4 or 5 building or houses as one phase to continue move on to finish all the 22 or 24 houses for this construction or development. But during right after the first phase, which is the 3 building, the lot 21, 22, and 24 is being built, and so it was very successful financially and also design, everything else. The homeowner living there was very happy, and finally we see something happening on that hill, and everybody's very excited for that, including myself and the city staffs. But during the second phase, which is lot 25, 26, and 23, we're starting having the COVID, and everything slows down. The construction costs and labor shortage, all these things happening. So it's kind of slowing down the construction, and the cost has been inflated a lot. It's almost like a 30% or 35% more than what was anticipated. That brings up to the selling cost compared to the first 3 is a bit higher, just to adjusting the cost that they have. That coming back to right after COVID, the the interest rate has been gone higher, and that's the other hurdle for this whole industry, that people start slowing down buying. And now we have all these events with global, we are at war right now, and then all these oil price and everything. So right after the second phase of the project's been done, almost a year or 14 months already, none of the houses been sold for out of the 3. So the developer has been having a little reserve, or I wouldn't say coffee, but they still want to build these houses. That's still their dream to complete the whole project.
You just need more
So,
time.
sorry, and mainly I'm just requesting for 5 years to give us more time to get this thing built by the same developer.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Can I ask a procedural question? Can we do this? It's been noticed as a different thing. We can't change, that's like a material term, right? We can't just change the agenda based on public comment.
No, you could, it's been agendized for for the Fourth Amendment, so you can change anything, any term you want in
Okay,
that Fourth
thank you.
Amendment.
That was good. Thank
We
you.
need to remove it from consent?
If you want to discuss it, yes.
Do we need to discuss it? Should we move it? Yeah. Okay, let's move that to discussion. All right. Public comment anymore?
No other speaker cards, Madam Mayor.
All right. Any discussion besides that? So can we move to approve excluding item G, which we move to discussion?
Move to approve the consent agenda for items A through F and H through J.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, let's move on to our discussion items. Let's go ahead and start with item G that came from consent. We don't have to go read through it again. I can now open it up for discussion.
Yeah, and Mayor, just some background.
Yes.
I had initially coordinated with legal counsel for the developer, and I had just proposed 2 years because that's what we had been doing in the past, but no protest from legal if you want to extend it totally, the decision up to the council.
Thank you.
But when you discussed it with them, they didn't propose 5 years. They proposed 2 at that. They were fine with 2 at that time.
I had proposed, I had proposed 2 to their legal counsel. I never actually spoke directly with the developer, so that conversation happened between staff and developer. But in my conversation with their legal counsel, I proposed 2. He seemed okay with it. He said forward it on to the developer, and so that's where we're at.
Okay. I mean, so we never heard back from the developer on it. You just talked to their lawyer, and their lawyer was fine with 2, and then their lawyer went and talked to them, and now we have public comment here tonight.
Yeah, I never heard back, but I found out later from staff that staff was also under the impression that it was 5 years, so there was just probably a miscommunication between my department and staff, yeah.
Got it.
And I was going to say, it does, if we don't uphold our part of extending this agreement, then we could hold ourselves up to more liability. Is that correct?
Yes, possible.
Well,
But
to
it's
clarify that if we don't extend it at all.
Right.
Not
Correct.
if we don't
No,
extend it
correct.
to 5
Right,
versus
right,
2.
yeah.
Exactly, sorry.
Okay.
Yes. I'm okay with 5.
Yeah,
I-
I move that we amend it to 5.
And I understand exactly what the barriers are right now, and it's climate and the changes in availability of building and everything that's happening in the real estate market.
Can I just ask one question before we vote on your, so they own the property. They have certain entitlements that came about because of the settlement agreement, which is what we've been talking about multiple times, right? And so the idea here is that we're extending the entitlements that were granted, beyond the typical life cycle for an entitlement, correct? Like typically, the entitlements are good for a certain amount of time, and then you have to reapply, or here, obviously, it's by settlement, so it was, under the settlement, it was supposed to be done by a certain time, and we just keep extending that time.
So not quite.
Okay.
And staff, correct me if I'm wrong. There's a subdivision map, so we divided up the lots. They have successfully obtained design review permits to build on some of those lots. So, they do that. But there are lots that are not built. And our task per this settlement agreement is we have to issue them design review permits if they build according to the design standards under the settlement agreement.
Okay.
So once we issue all those design review permits, then this litigation is done, this settlement agreement no longer applies to anything anymore, and it's a moot point. But until all those design review permits have been issued, the idea is this needs to be extended out further to allow them more time to come up with the designs, obtain the design review permits for all lots in the subdivision.
And the design review permits that we have granted and that presumably we will grant, and then at the time that they're all permitted and the settlement agreement goes away, is there a time frame under which those projects need to be built? I guess what I'm worried about is like, I don't need this to go on for 50 years.
Yes. Yes, I think it's 1 hour under, so 1 hour, 1 year under the municipal code, and I'm getting a thumbs up from staff, 1 year.
Okay.
And so when we're approving this, are we approving the building code at the time of the settlement agreement? Or is that, or it's
No.
updated with, so every time they go in for a design review and for a permit, so it's not like what we have in the Meadows where we've locked in, we've got a development agreement that locks in the codes and standards for all 42
No, it's
units.
a lot like that. It's a lot like that. The settlement agreement, so in the Meadows, we have a specific plan, and the specific plan governs the design. In this case, we have a settlement agreement with design guidelines that governs the design. Settlement agreement goes away, then the city and developer are likely going to have a fight about what the relevant design standard or development standards are. Because right now, they're governed by the design standards under the settlement agreement.
Okay. And these were
But you said
set, and these were design standards based on what year?
These design standards, so at the time, the city had come up with a fairly restrictive set of design standards, and the developer pushed back. And so as a compromise, the city and the developer agreed on an alternative set of design standards that are included as an exhibit to the settlement agreement.
And remind me, I can look in the timeline, what year was it that we agreed on those design standards?
Yeah, it'd be the same time as the settlement agreement. I think it was 2010, around then, 2010.
So I guess to some of the other discussion on this, this has gone on for quite a while. I guess I don't want to go back into litigation, but I also want to try to, 5 years seems a little on the long side to me. And so, I'd like that, I would encourage it to come back to us before 5 years to make sure that this continues to move forward and that these, there's some incentive to move as fast as they can, recognizing that, there are a lot of challenges we've got. We've had COVID, we've got a war, we've got lots of increases in costs, but I'm not sure.
Maybe the
5 sits with
history,
me.
maybe the history will help explain this.
I've read the history.
No, the long history, not since 2010. The zoning changed on this location after the original developer purchased the property.
Right.
The zoning
Yeah.
changed. Therefore, they could not build what they were going to build. It went into litigation, huge litigation, at the expense of Sierra Madre as the city. And then we finally came to an agreement with the developer. The developers changed, but we've set those agreements as a solution, not going ongoing litigation. So I'm not going to say that I'm going to give you less time than 5 years if we're all agreeing that 5 years is what we're giving them.
I think a different way of saying, I think, in just more summary style, is that the extension of the settlement agreement is almost as much, if not more, for our benefit than it is for them. I was wondering about the timeline just because I don't want a bunch of undeveloped property up there, but the bottom line is the extension of the settlement agreement keeps the city from extending litigation more than it is supposed to incentivize the development.
Correct.
Unfortunately.
Correct.
This is the way I look at it. I mean, you don't have to look at it that way, but that's the way I look at it.
Can you expound on that? I want to make sure I understand, because that's an interesting
Well,
point.
I mean, I wasn't here for the litigation, and obviously it didn't go to actual litigation because it was settled, but the vibes are that the city was at fault, and we are lucky to have settled it when we did and not incur additional fees. And personally, I'm not interested in incurring fees now if the litigation was to restart. So
Understood.
that's what I'm saying.
Yes, thank you. And we actually did have multiple lawsuits that we didn't settle prior to that, that we paid out. And this was the one that we got to settle.
Yeah,
So
this
that's-
is the one we settled.
And this is what our solution is to not continue that.
So, sorry, I will second Mayor Pro Tem's motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, discussion item A, authorization for all-way stop traffic control at the intersections of East Grandview Avenue and North Cannon Avenue.
Madam Mayor,
Yes,
I will see you in a little bit.
thank you.
Bye-bye.
Are you going to do public comment when it comes to public comment?
Do you need to know any more public comment on this? I've said it, I think, 2 or 3 times before. I think
Okay.
it's, I think I've gone on the record pretty clearly
I
on
think we
it.
got a copy of it, of your public comment.
Oh, yeah, from back, way back when, yeah.
Yes.
So I'll see you in a bit.
Okay, thank you. Oh, and we might say the reason that we're excusing Councilmember Parker is that he lives within 300 feet of the, 500 feet of the designated area that we're discussing. He lives right at the location. All right. Do we have a presentation?
Madam Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, esteemed council members remaining. This is a continuation item from the March 24th, 2026 meeting, which was a continuation from the August 26th, 2025 meeting when the traffic study was originally presented. So at the March meeting, this was brought back and it wasn't warranted from the extended look at it, it wasn't warranted to have an all-way stop. But through the discussion from council that meeting, it was directed for city council city attorney to go back and evaluate what liability the city would have if the council went forth and put a 4-way stop in there. And city attorney came back, there would still be some liability issues on the city's part, but it seemed that council wanted to stop there, so that's the recommendation. I can let Alex delve further into his expert analysis legally.
And without going too deep into it, it's not that there's any kind of litigation risk per se, but it's that the normal immunities that the government, that a city would have as it relates to the installation, as it relates to choosing not to install stop signs, because there's lots of governmental immunities for that, generally don't apply when a city chooses to install stop signs. That's really it.
So it's not just specific to this intersection, but anytime we would add 4-way stops versus not adhere to it. Thank you.
So the lack of an engineering support that supports this does not put us in jeopardy.
Correct. It doesn't create any new types of litigation risk.
And do we have other 4-way stops where we were in the same situation in Sierra Madre?
Yeah, the one at Highland and
Highland and
Mountain Trail.
Mountain Trail, okay.
And it's been fine.
All right. Do we have any other questions? Do we have any public comment on this item aside from what we've entered prior to the last 2 meetings?
No, ma'am.
All right, we'll move back to discussion.
Well, I move that we authorize the all-way stop traffic control at the intersection of East Grandview Avenue and North Cannon Avenue.
Did you want?
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 So moved. Can you please ask Councilmember Parkhurst to come back? I think James is getting
He's
him.
going to be happy.
Thank you. Welcome back.
Thank
you. All right, moving on to discussion item B, report discussion direction on city boards and commission attendance policy. Madam Clerk, do you have a report?
Yes, ma'am, thank you. At a recent city council meeting, the council directed staff to return with a draft of a boards and commission attendance policy. Currently, there are 5 active commissions and 2 active committees. The Sierra Madre Municipal Code addresses commission appointments and terms, but stops short of addressing attendance. However, the municipal code does address how commissioners are appointed and how they may be removed. According to Sierra Madre Municipal Code 2.04.070, the city council may remove any person from any city board or commission at any time by, with, or without cause, provided that its action to do so is by a motion supported by the affirmative actions of 3 members of the city council. That is really the closest reference to how the city council may remove a board member. The purpose of this report is to outline and recommend the adoption of a formal commissioner board attendance policy, since the current municipal code is absent of a formal policy. The understanding of boards and commissions is that they serve to provide city council advisory or support advisory roles. We have boards, committees, and commissions, and in order to be effective and efficient, the membership must be actively involved and attend most, if hopefully all, meetings. And the expectation is that they attend all meetings, but understanding that there may be times when they cannot attend. This policy is brought to the City Council as very timely. The state mandated SB 707, Senate Bill 707, addresses teleconferencing and other issues that will be effective July 1st. And so staff recommends that the City Council consider those teleconferencing requirements when and if adopting a boards and commission attendance policy. The City Council may also consider excused absences and types of excused absences. Some examples of those excused absences may be family emergencies or work-related conflicts or pre-approved travel. Staff recommends that the City Council consider how many excused absences within a 12-month period would be permitted. The city staff recently brought the Student Commissioner Program to the City Council, and at that meeting last summer, the City Council adopted a 75% mandatory attendance policy, so the City Council may also consider a similar policy for the other commissioners. So those are some options. Either keep it consistent with the Student Commissioner 75% threshold, or consider also the SB 707 requirements. The requirements for the City Council are a little more strict, or not, but they're governed by California Government Code, and that essentially requires that the City Council, if the City Council is vacant for 60 consecutive days, that the position is considered vacant, and that's governed by California Government Code Section 36513. However, that government code does not address commissions, boards, or committees. It only addresses the City Council.
Can I ask you a quick question about that?
Of course.
So with a leave of absence, so the City Council, it's irregardless if they had a leave of absence, that 60 days vacant means that the position is open?
So I'll clarify. The code that pertains to City Council is absent without permission for 60 days.
Oh, okay, without permission. So if they took a leave of absence, that's with permission.
Yes.
What is our policy on leave of absences?
There is currently no policy in the municipal code that addresses leave of absences for commissions, boards, and members.
So we just have it not as a policy, but we have it printed in our wording for the application?
It's in the guidelines, and we've only had 2 instances where leave of absences were requested.
Can you read the wording and the guidelines for us? Because I can't remember what this, I think it was 6 months leave of absence, but I'd rather know exactly what we put in there.
I don't have the handbook in front
Okay,
of me.
I'll Google it.
So while we're doing that, can you say how other cities handle absences? Like is it is it over the current term? Is it on a year? Is it, like, as soon as you miss your second meeting, let's just say that we stay at 75%, right? 75% means that you can miss one meeting a year. So if you miss a second meeting, you're never going to make it past 75%.
When
And
staff,
yeah, go ahead. So I'm trying to think through, like, what's the process this looks like?
some of it has to depend on also depends on the number of meetings that they have. For example, Planning Commission meets twice a month, but the other commissions and the boards meet once a month. In some of the cities, the attendance policy was 33%. For example, the city of Gilroy wanted 33%. In other cities, it was 75%. And so there isn't a consistent number, but the overall number was a majority of the meetings.
Okay, so, but then it's the majority of the meetings based over what time period, and then when is removal decided, right? So is it, do you assess it, would we assess it, since we do the appointments in May or June for July, because that's our fiscal year, is that when other cities do the assessment, or do you have a proposal of when we should do the assessment?
Both. There is a mixture. Some do calendar year and some do fiscal year. Because Sierra Madre selects their chairs and appoints the new commissioners effective July 1st, staff recommends that it be fiscal year.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
And how many of our commissioners have taken leave of absences? And if we don't know the policy, then what's exactly the point of taking a leave of absence?
Well, the point of knowing when a commissioner is going to be present is so that staff can determine whether or not there's going to be a quorum, and so we can plan accordingly. If a commissioner is intending to miss multiple meetings, we can move city business to a meeting where we know we're going to have quorums. The challenge then becomes that if a commissioner or board member is absent numerous times or over a long period of time, then it begins to affect city business, and city staff has to keep putting items off to future meetings.
I understand that. My question was, how are they taking a leave of absence if there's no policy for it? But actually, I just found it says, the City of Sierra Madre established a policy on City Council meeting on September 23rd, 2022, that commissioners may request up to 6 months leave of absence in one term. The commissioner needs to put in writing to the mayor to request the leave of absence. So I don't know as mayor, I don't know if anyone else has requested that, but it says here that this is the policy. Well, it's stated in our policies and procedures in the handbook.
I don't know at all.
Yeah.
So you weren't here in 2002. I wasn't.
No, I think the city clerk said that's happened twice.
Yeah.
No, but
recently.
we do have a policy for leave of absence.
I know, but Mayor Pro Tem asked if it had been used, and I think the city clerk said twice.
When?
Most recently in 2026, and I believe in 2024 was the other time.
So that letter's supposed to go to the mayor to request a leave of absence, just for future reference. And I don't think we need to change that policy, but maybe add it to whatever we decide tonight, correct? Like it should be added to that? Okay. All right, any other questions? All right, open this up to public comment.
There are no speaker cards, ma'am.
All right, discussion.
Can I suggest, because none of this is mandatory, and these folks already serve at the pleasure of the city council, that I'm just going to say this bluntly, not spend a lot of time on the details here, because frankly, we can remove commissioners at any time for any or no reason. So I don't know that we need to spend a lot of time parsing through what exactly the attendance policy should be, other than perhaps creating some expectation with respect to the commissioners. But I think they should also understand that they can be removed at any time. And in fact, it's happened for reasons that didn't have to do with attendance.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't want to be rude, and I'm happy to discuss, but I just want to lay that out there, because I just don't think this is very high stakes, because it doesn't even trigger a mandatory removal. It allows us more specific reasons to remove commissioners, which is a power we already had.
I value the expectations, and I think that if a commissioner doesn't know their expectations because it's not stated in anything, then that would be a good guideline to have a minimum 75%, a minimum of this, with that expectation that you've signed up for this to volunteer, but we really need you to participate.
No,
I know we can remove
I
them,
agree.
but
don't-
I
don't-
like, if I had to remove somebody right now, I'd love to have the policy and not be like, I don't think you show up enough, like, you need to kind of go.
No, I agree
I'd like
with you.
having a universal policy.
And I think what they've suggested here in the staff report
Mm-hmm.
is perfectly adequate for that task. It gives them a sense of expectations. This is reasonable. It's not draconian.
I agree.
I don't really have any proposed changes to it.
So, I mean, if we're going to get into the changes, I only had one minor thing, is that we talk about special meeting, but don't define special meeting. We define regular meeting in it, minor point. If we're going to reference a regular meeting and a special meeting, we should just define special meeting. Other than that, I would agree with Councilmember Goss that I think it's a good point. I do think that,
I'm not following, especially where does it say that?
It says commissioners are expected to attend all regular and special meetings of the body.
right,
Okay.
and then in the definitions, we define what a regular meeting is, but we don't define what a special meeting is.
Yeah.
So if we're going to define regular meeting, we should define special meeting.
Right.
Minor point. So it does say about reporting absences. So does a accepted absence count towards the?
It's excused or unexcused is the language. And that's what they've been doing currently, is like, if you look at the data that we've received, you can see who's received unexcused absences and excused absences and how many each.
Right.
So they're already
Commissioners
keeping
have.
track
So
of
they're
that.
keeping
Yeah,
track of that.
but so that's part of the confusion, because in all of the commissions and all of the things, there's one unexcused absence. So we have commissioners that have a 50% or lower attendance rating, but they would be fine because they've got excused absences.
No, this policy actually sets a minimum requirement, whether it's excused or not. And let's not forget, excused doesn't mean that they've given a valid reason. It just means that they called in advance.
Okay.
So I know,
That makes sense.
I am
To me,
vehemently
excuse-
opposed to creating any system in which we are going to evaluate the reason for their, I don't think that's anything we
No,
should be doing.
I wasn't implying it. I was like, excused absence seems to me says it doesn't count against you, right?
But that's
So-
not the way the policy works.
Yeah.
Good. And
There is a
fine.
threshold. The threshold is what, three a year? How much is it?
So it says
It's basically-
75%. Now, the 2 meetings a year, and that policy is part of whether you can do them virtually or what you call it, teleconference. What's the wording?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, just to be clear, the 75% attendance is excused or for any reason, unexcused or excused. You need to be around for 75% of the meetings, even if you're excused.
Yeah.
And again, it's not an automatic trigger, so the failure, if you are at 72, it doesn't mean you're automatically going to be kicked off. It just means that if there's concerns, then we can use it as grounds.
And the liaison has a discussion or,
And is this, would we make this going forward or retroactive for the?
no,
current
going
year?
forward.
Going forward.
Okay, yeah.
Just like Councilmember Creep said, we still always have that discussion and remove people for any reason currently. All right. Can I hear a motion?
Well,
Well, do we need to, are we including SB 707 in this or not?
It's in here.
No, it's
Oh,
not.
it's
I think
not.
we have to
Oh,
decide.
you're right, just in the-
I think it's way too, I mean, we had that whole presentation, and I have to admit, I barely understand it. So I really don't think I'm not in favor of applying all of those ins and outs and exceptions to exceptions to the
They're
commissions.
naturally applied, correct?
I just want to add one clarification. We won't, at least staff is not treating an absence as someone participating via teleconference. If you're participating via teleconference, you're still
Right.
present.
Right,
at the meeting.
yeah,
Okay.
right.
Yeah, I think the
Thank
main
you.
issue is just not having quorum. And so if you're there for quorum purposes, then that's not an absence.
Teleconference, most teleconference exceptions do not count toward quorum,
Oh, okay.
but I think the intention is, you are participating in the meeting
Right,
somehow.
that's fine. Yeah, I'm fine with that. So I guess I would move to create a policy that requires at least 75% attendance regardless of excused versus unexcused, or the accumulation of 3 or more unexcused absences within a fiscal year period, with attendance by teleconference not counting as an absence.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Right. Thank you. All right, last agenda item is C, report discussion and direction on executive management labor market equity adjustments. We have a presentation from City Manager. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. This item is report discussion and direction regarding executive compensation, labor market equity analysis. This is a continuing discussion that began last fall when the city experienced 2 unplanned executive vacancies. At that time, I came back to the city council requesting an adjustment to the compensation schedule for those 2 positions so that we could recruit more qualified applicants for those unplanned vacancies. As a result of that discussion, the city council directed staff to come back and do an analysis of what it would take to bring the rest of the executive team, those existing positions that we weren't making the adjustments for, up to a current market rate. Part of the reason why we're here is because of this slide, which was a slide that was prepared for the Ad Hoc Revenue Committee when we were taking a look at 10-year cost of living adjustments for the various employee groups in the city. That thick green line in the middle is cumulative CPI over the 10-year period. So what you're seeing is cumulative CPI is about somewhere around 35 or 36%. The blue line up top represents the fire group, and the purple line down at the bottom represents the executive management group. And what you can see is as CPI, the cumulative increase has gone up about 35 or 36% over the last 10 years. The executive management group has remained relatively flat with no cost of living adjustments dating all the way back to fiscal year 2020, and certainly not keeping up with the rate of inflation over that period. When we last brought this item to the City Council as part of the mid-year, the City Council directed staff to use the new Holly AI class and comp system to review a more comprehensive basket of cities to determine whether there were more comparable cities than the current basket that we had and return to City Council at a later date. We reached out to Holly AI. We have implemented and onboarded that system. We're currently using it right now to go through our classifications and make updates. And we asked them and said, hey, who do you think we're like? And they turned around and said, we do class and comp. We don't tell you who you want to be. So they deferred that back to us. And we worked with our HR staff to come up with what we thought was a reasonable solution to try to identify which cities were sort of more within our labor market where we would have to compete with other jurisdictions for their labor services. So what we did is we drew a 30-mile circle around Sierra Madre, and we plotted where our employees live on a map by labor group. I happen to be the purple dot right there in the corner of Orange County, in case anybody was interested. But as you can see, most, if not all of our employees live within about a 30-mile radius of Sierra Madre. We have some folks up in Ventura County, some folks out in the IE, and some crazy folks down in South Orange County that commute all the way in to Sierra Madre. Those tend to be our public safety folks who are able to commute long distances because when they're here, they're staying here for a long period of time. But within that circle, that's our competition for other cities who could attract and pull away our employees. So we took a look at the existing basket, the original basket of where we did our analysis, and we revised the basket. So the cities in red in the original basket were the ones that were removed in favor of the cities in green. Included in the staff report was an analysis of the types of service orientations those cities in green provide. They tend to be more full-service cities, and by that I mean they have their own police department, their own fire department, public works, perhaps a library, versus the cities that have the asterisks on there that are typically contract cities. Those are cities that contract out with either LA County or other jurisdiction for their public safety services and don't have the same full service orientation that Sierra Madre has. So when we ran the compensation analysis back through the wash from the original basket to the revised basket, the numbers changed relatively slightly depending on the classification. So as you can see, the assistant city manager position, and this is again median salary. So we're talking about the middle 50%. The assistant city manager position went from a minus 40.6% to minus 40.16 or 41.6%. Police had a modest decrease. Fire had the most significant decrease, where you see about a 7-point swing. And then the rest of them were all generally sort of in line with the original basket. But because there is a more pronounced differential between the original and revised, it did increase the cost to bring people up to median in the revised basket of cities. So here we costed out step one to step one from the original basket to the revised basket. It turned out to be what you see the differences are there on a monthly basis, so $113, $900, $101. You multiply that by 12 months, and the difference is about $22,000 in just salary. Then you have to apply a benefit factor, which we use, which is about 40%, which results in a difference of about $33,000 from the original basket to the revised basket. So to bring our executive group up to median, using the revised basket of cities that are more like Sierra Madre, the total cost increased from $168,000 from the previous analysis to just under $202,000 in the revised basket. In terms of overall compensation, as was proposed at the mid-year, in order to simplify the administration of the city's classification and compensation structure, as well as to provide some internal equity amongst the executive team, instead of having individual pay rates for those positions, we're proposing pay bands with a band A and a band B. Band A would be the assistant city manager, police chief, fire chief. Band B would be public works director, planning director, finance director, and library community services director. There you're seeing the monthly rates between the steps with a 2.5% differential between each step, and what that looks like on an annual basis for those positions. I would also note that per the previous recommendation that I had at the mid-year report, these changes would not take effect until July 1, and the executive team would then be put on an annual review cycle beginning July 1 to June 30. So folks during the first year would forego any merit or step increases as a result of this adjustment, right? Because some of the adjustments are significant in terms of overall cost and percentage, and in order to keep everything sort of on scale, we would forego that merit increase. So the adjustment would be that merit increase. So with that, it is recommended that the City Council adopt the revised compensation analysis on executive management labor market equity adjustments, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Questions from council?
Question on the comparable cities. So you kept Claremont and Signal Hill, even though they do some contract. What was the logic on that?
I'd have to go back. There's an attachment. It's attachment number. Should be on here. I turned it in. There was an analysis that we did. It doesn't look like it's with the staff report, but staff went through and we took a look at the service models of these various cities. Claremont likely had something that was more comparable to us, like they may have had their own fire department but not their own police department, or vice versa, or they had a library. We didn't want to do like a wholesale makeover of the basket of cities, and they were close enough to who we are in terms of service delivery and in the San Gabriel Valley for us to keep them in the list.
Thank you.
What would be the explanation for grouping these positions? Because I looked at all the other cities and I didn't see that they grouped them the same way, with assistant city manager and fire chief and police chief. I've never seen the same salaries necessarily when I'm looking at those comparable cities. And then I looked at the next category, and I saw a vast difference between, say, the finance directors versus the library director or
Yeah.
community services. I saw huge differences. They're not in the same band.
Yeah, some cities actually do what I'm proposing with the pay bands. I think Monrovia is an example sort of close by that has that type of compensation structure. This was to create a simplified compensation structure than what we currently have. If you look at our salary tables, we have a specific line for almost every category and classification of employee. For a city our size, that's not entirely necessary. And so to create ease of administration, to create clarity of purpose, and to promote internal equity within the executive management group, grouping them in those categories with the A and the B band seem to be the most logical break when you're looking at the actual salaries of who is sort of compensated within that group. And it also reflects, sort of the areas of responsibility, being an assistant city manager and stepping in for the city manager, public safety chiefs, with their overall responsibilities a little bit different than some of the line departments that are providing services, on a different basis.
Can I follow up?
Yes, please.
So I think I know the answer. So it's your impression that this would not cause any enmity that doesn't exist now among your executive team?
Correct.
Does this affect, does it change the already approved changes we made to finance director and public works director that we just made this last year?
Yeah, it's a small nominal amount. So the public works director is about $1,200 and the finance director is about $1,600 in terms of the adjustment.
Increase.
Increase.
And it brings those other categories of planning director and library and community services director up a lot more than to
Correct.
their same level.
Well, it's the average of those four classifications. So these values reflect the median of the individual classification, but the pay bands are the average of the classifications within the band.
And for the library and community services director, the salary increase is going to take effect July 1.
July 1.
It has not taken effect yet.
Correct.
Any more questions?
I'll come back to the last time we had this discussion. So this is going to be, because I know we're putting together all kinds of budgetary materials for us, and we're going to be hashing out a lot of stuff. So for this to fit into next year's budget, I assume that takes into account the projected deficits and the reliance on reserves for the next year.
Correct.
Okay.
All right, any more questions? All right, can we open this up for public comment?
Madam Mayor, there were 2 emails received earlier today, and they were forwarded to the City Council. They were received late in the day, so I'm not sure if the City Council had an opportunity to review them. They were from Catherine Addy and Diane Sands. There were no speaker cards submitted for this.
All right, so let's move back to discussion.
My 10 cents?
Yes,
I think we should do it.
all across the board.
I like
as
the
presented.
band idea, as long as the management team stays together, doesn't cause enmity. Seems like we have highly qualified people here who are underpaid. I think we should move at it.
Yeah, I mean, my sense is that we've already, as a council, determined that we need to be in I think we called it, status quo plus. And this seems to me like the most effective application of that plus, because to me, every dollar spent on quality personnel has a greater return. And the cost of replacing folks, both in terms of the hard costs of recruitment and all of the background and the process, as well as the soft costs of losing the historical knowledge and the continuity and some of the concerns we've seen over some of the turnover lately. I'm hugely in favor. One thing I would posit, and it may be something that Councilmember Parkhurst was getting at, I would like to consider making the change with respect to the library and Director of Community Services retroactive to her, to the time at which she became the chair of 2 departments. So anyway, that's just something for consideration. And I don't know what the fiscal impact of that would be.
Unfortunately, we can't have salaries be retroactive because there's case law on it. It's about it violates the constitutional provision against gift of public funds for services already rendered.
Oh, interesting.
So there's a difference when you make it retroactive for, let's say, union negotiations. You can make it retroactive to the date the negotiation began, but you can't do one-off employee retroactive salaries.
Even though, yeah, okay, so this is essentially there was a promotion without commensurate salary adjustment, so okay.
Was that the case?
There was a salary adjustment, but within the existing range.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate that, especially because there was a little one. It's not what it should be, but there was a little one.
So what's the delta right now?
What?
The delta between.
A lot.
Oh, the change. Yeah.
Could we make it, could we do this, and make for the Library and Community Services Director effective June 1? I mean, it is a month, but it is a month.
Sure.
That's where I would go with it.
That
We
was my
can't
choice.
go retroactive, but let's do,
Advance it.
Advance it.
advance it 1 month, which,
Or just the library director?
Yeah, because if that was the case too, then we should have increased fire back in 2019 when he became the chief of a full department paid, when he never took a salary increase, by the way. He made sure that we funded firefighters, so he did not take.
Would that require a budget adjustment, or are we okay on that?
We're probably okay.
Start June.
Sure.
Is that across the board or just for those two?
I think we should do it across the board.
I
Okay.
think once we get past one, then.
Okay, just do across the board.
The library director should know that's the thinking we're having.
All right. Do we have a motion?
I move to adopt the new executive compensation schedule effective June 1.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, great job on items tonight. Do we have anything for future agenda items? I think I do, but I don't remember what they are right now. Let me look.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, please.
So at our last meeting, we adopted, I think it was the last meeting, the ordinance for e-bikes. I'd like to ask staff to take a look at e-bike or bike parking. Since we've been looking at bikes, it seems kind of timely. And have an analysis of where we should have it and what they should look like and orientation. We've got, I don't want to go into discussion, but I think there's some opportunities there for bike parking. And then I have a second item is the Natural Resources Commission talked about a battery recycling program, but I haven't heard the latest on it. It'd be nice to get a status on that.
I failed to do my pre-research, so I'll bring them next time.
I actually have one.
Yes.
So we recently received inquiry, and I saw it also on social media, about the plan check fees for residents who are rebuilding after the fire. And so I would appreciate bringing forth a proposal to waive the plan check fees for those residents that are rebuilding after the fire. I think that's commensurate with what Pasadena and LA County are doing, and I think we had originally just waived the permit fee.
All right, anything else? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Good night, Ed.
Night, Ed.
Bye, Ed.
Good night, all. Thank you.